Hi, everyone. Welcome to the December meeting of the Business Licenses and Permits Committee of Community Board 4. Pursuant to the city's resolutions that lets us meet virtually, this meeting is being recorded. It's also being streamed live on YouTube, where recording of it will remain for, I don't know, eternity perhaps. For those of you who've been here before, I apologize, but just a brief rundown. This committee hears applications for liquor licenses. All we do and all the community board does is make recommendations. We don't have the power to grant or deny a license. This committee will hear each application and then vote on making a recommendation to the full community board 4. On January 6th, at the next full community board meeting, the full 50 member board will also vote. That will also be a recommendation whether to recommend approval or denial that will be made to the State Liquor Authority, which then makes its own decision. Anyone here who is particularly interested in any of the applications can also make their views known directly to the Liquor Authority. There are a couple changes to tonight's agenda. Agenda item 2, 857 9th Avenue has been postponed. That will not be heard tonight. So if anyone is here for just that item, you don't have to stick around anymore. In addition, to accommodate some scheduling issues, we're going to be hearing agenda item 4 first. That is 515 West 18th Street. Other than that, we will follow the agenda. The process is pretty simple. We call each agenda item. We ask the applicant to present briefly to the committee. We then hear any questions that the committee members may have. If any members of the public listening in want to be heard, when that agenda item is called, we either urge you to raise your hand, which you can do from the participants list at the bottom of your screen, or indicate in chat that you'd like to be heard. Nellie Gonzalez, the Assistant District Manager of CB4, will then move you into the meeting for that agenda item so that you can speak and be seen. Yes, and to answer a question in the chat from the public, members of the public are only observing. They're not seen on screen until they are moved into the meeting, which will happen when they raise their hands asking to chat for a particular agenda item. With that, I think we will get started with 515 East 18th Street Eatery.
Hey, Frank, I don't mean to jump in, but for some reason, I didn't get a BLP agenda and materials for this month. If I could just have someone quickly send me an email of that.
Okay, Nellie, can you do that? It's a Dropbox link, Rob, but she'll send it to you right now.
Yes.
On the website.
The emails that I have, the Dropbox links isn't there. All I have is a November 11th solution. Sorry about that.
Okay. All right. We want to get started on 515 West 18th Street?
Yeah, thanks, Frank. Donald Bernstein on behalf of the applicant. This is going to be a new restaurant in the Lantern House, which is a new building that's being constructed by Related on 18th Street and 10th Avenue. Will be in the ground floor. The principals are Kobe Levy, who is here. Kobe has been involved in hospitality for a number of years. He currently owns Lola Taverna at 210 6th Avenue and Babu G, another restaurant on East 13th Street. Kobe also lives not too far away, lives in Hudson Yards. And his partner is someone that you probably all know, it's Chef Alex Garnaschelli. The chef has been an Iron Chef, Food Network, Chopped. I think she pretty much literally grew up in the kitchen. She was executive chef at Butter and the Derby before that closed. So the chef and Kobe will be opening what they're going to call Lola Osteria, with right on the corner of 18th Street and 10th Avenue. Its main entrance will be on 18th Street. We have found a location that is not within 500 feet of 3 or more restaurants. Not too many pockets left, but the only 2 places that are within 500 feet are Cook Shop and Artichoke. There are only 2. So it's not, for whatever it's worth, it's not a public interest application. It's a full-service restaurant. The basement is just back of house. On the ground floor, there are 41 tables with 98 seats. There's 1 bar with 13 seats. If we ever get back to having normal DCA-issued sidewalk cafes, we will have 60 tables and, 52 tables and 100 seats on 10th Avenue as a sidewalk cafe. The music is background only. There are no open doors. There are no open windows. The hours will be 11 a.m. till midnight, Sunday to Monday. And then from Tuesday to Saturday, it will be an all-out closing of 2 a.m. with the sidewalk cafe, of course, limited by any COVID hours, whatever we have next year and ongoing, but otherwise closing at 11 p.m. And those are the basics. And Kobe, if Chef, if you're here and you want to add a little flavor of what you're doing, go ahead.
Alex is in the other room. Could somebody let her in? She's in the attendee room.
I will move her over.
Thank you.
Hey, the email you just sent, there's no agenda and there's no link to Dropbox.
You know, you can, it's Christine Berthe. You can go to the website on the BLP agenda, and it's all there.
There she is. I see her. Okay. You have to unmute yourself.
Jeff, you're on mute.
We can't hear you.
I was sitting in a subset of a subset in my own personal waiting room by accident. Hello. Thanks for listening to our application tonight. I am a resident of Chelsea. I live in London Terrace. I've lived there for almost 8 years. So if I don't like the food being made at this restaurant, I'm really going to have to move to a different community myself. I grew up in Midtown Manhattan in an old New York building called the Wyoming, which was built in 1902 and is across the street from the Carnegie Deli, or what was the Carnegie Deli. So I am a quintessential native New Yorker. And I'm excited about this space. I think it offers a lot of what a future restaurant that can pivot and be a lot of good things to the community needs to be. I mean, obviously restaurants are the backbone of the community. I spend a lot of time at Cook Shop. I have a good relationship with them. I like artichoke pizza, but if I'm dieting, I'm more apt to go eat fish at the Chelsea market. We definitely see ourselves as, something that could supplement the community with, good Italian food and, a mixture of outdoor and indoor dining. And that's it. I'm just excited about it.
Thank you. Very nice Christmas tree too.
Oh, please. My daughter decorated it and she's been decorating it for like 5 days. But thank you. Yeah.
Kobe, did you want to say anything?
I just want to say thanks, Alex. She's going to go shoot now, and thanks everyone for letting us move up so we can accommodate her. Much appreciated.
Yeah, my apologies. It's in Smithsonian event, which I really don't want to go to. Good talk.
Okay, have fun. Hope it's more pleasant than this.
Well, I will say I've been to some community board meetings where everybody is talking from underneath chairs. So I know how these get, but this is a restaurant I'm really excited about. So, come on, I've been showed you guys my Christmas tree. We're all in here.
Okay, just some technical things before we get to the committee. Donald, I think we talked about when we did the virtual site visit. I wasn't sure about your answer to the storm enclosure question. I think, you were talking about different, or whoever filled this in was talking about something different. Are you folks going to have one of those, sort of plastic things on the sidewalk?
Yeah, outside.
We're still somewhat uncertain because it's we're still trying to figure out ADA access. So depending on ramps and a lift will somewhat determine what we were able to do there.
Okay, so what we ask applicants to agree to is what the law is, that any storm enclosure doesn't extend more than 18 inches from the building facade. Doesn't mean you have to have one, just if you do,
Okay.
that's as big as it can be. Are you okay with that?
Sure, fair enough.
Okay, and so Donald, I'm gonna change that answer to yes
Yeah.
and cross out the flood wall thing.
Okay.
The other questions may have to do with the Sidewalk Cafe, but I should elaborate a little on what Donald said. Certainly while we are in the pandemic, and perhaps beyond that, given that the city has okayed permanent outdoor dining, the Department of Consumer Affairs and the whole Sidewalk Cafe process is essentially on hold. I guess no one is sure what things will look like a year from now or whenever things are back to normal. But the application and the diagrams that they've submitted would come into effect only when DCA is approving sidewalk cafes again. Before that, any establishment just has to follow the open restaurant rules, which are somewhat different from the standard sidewalk cafe rules. And I do want to point out that they are asking to keep their sidewalk cafe open, I guess, an hour later than our standard requests of 10 to 11 p.m. But with that, anyone from the committee have questions or comments?
I have a question.
Yes, Christine.
Yes. So are you planning to do open dining outside? Don?
Yeah, Kobe, you're muted. Kobe's trying to answer.
Yes, we are. We plan on using open restaurants.
So you are going to do that in the parking lane?
Unfortunately, we don't know what the parking lane is yet because it's still a construction zone. So I have no idea what the signage is yet.
Okay. So when you
My assumption is that there'll be some of it will be useful, but some of it will probably be, I was told by Related that they were still talking to the city to find out what is going to happen in front of those in front of the building.
Okay, so if you are not in the parking lane, where are you going to be?
There's this space that would have been designated as part of my DCA legal sidewalk cafe, which is the plan that I submitted. I had my DCA architect put that together, and that's the space that we would be using, which is on 10th Avenue, and again would be legal by DCA standards in a non-COVID time.
Okay, well that's good. If it's okay by DCA standards, it's fine with us. And it's fine in the lane, by the way, in the parking lane. We are very much in favor of that.
Anyone else from
Thank you.
Anyone else from the committee?
Yeah, it's Mike Noble.
Hi, Mike. Go ahead.
I will respond to your 11 o'clock comment. I certainly have no problem with it down where they are. I mean, diverging from 10 to 11 is not a problem in my mind. And I live right up the street, so, I'd like to be able to go there at 11 o'clock.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Well, but the outdoor dining are 10 and 11.
No, the DCA Sidewalk Cafe, I believe they are asking for 11 across the board. Yeah, 11 daily.
Right, but what I'm saying is that until there is a DCA approval, it would be 10 and 11.
Well, whatever. I mean, if next year it's DOT controlled.
No, we know that.
Then obviously we'd be restricted. So the hours of requesting of 11 would only be if the DCA takes back control.
I personally don't see why we would change the hours that we have been asking all over the neighborhood, because if we do it for one person, then everybody's going to ask for it. So I don't have a problem for your specific establishment, but we don't want necessarily all the establishment to go and ask for that.
If I may, listen, unfortunately, we are all now seeing the decimation, which happens when restaurants don't have a fair shot to stay alive. We need every hour we can to make whatever money we can. I could tell you that in my business at Lola, the change from The change of close to 10 o'clock has taken 25% of my revenue away. Because now I can't take a reservation after 8 p.m. And that's real data I can share. So I can tell you this also though, if we give you our word that we're going to be closed at a certain time, we will be closed and everyone will be gone by that hour.
Oh, we expect that.
Donald or Kobe, given the way you presented the Sidewalk Cafe, have you decided you're only going with, I guess what you called option one?
Yeah, we're gonna skip 18th Street while legal. We are gonna end up having to build. I think the ramp's gonna end up there for handicap access, which is more important. So we'll lose those seats.
Okay. Donald, if you don't mind, if you could submit a revised STIP form that just gets rid of the option two and gives us only one set of plans. So
We can send that to Nellie tomorrow.
everything's very clear.
And Frank, I've not looked at that drawing, but everything is the right distances.
Well, it's the right distances according to the DCA rules. I think two things you may not like is I believe they've nicely planted or plant trees in front of this, but they have the pavers. So the sidewalk, the 8-foot sidewalk measurement is not from the tree itself. It's for the entire sidewalk, the pedestrian.
So the tree is not taken as an obstruction?
I believe not.
Right.
Kobe, is that right?
That's a major problem.
Trees are not obstructions as long as there's not a raised tree guard.
No, we don't want, we've been doing that for 15 years, so we don't need the explanation. The reality is that when you have a wheelchair or anybody going through a tree, it's an obstruction. So we have been asking all of our Sidewalk Cafe applicants to respect the fact that the measurement has to be from the tree pit or the tree trunk at worst.
It's a very wide street, and I think that there's plenty of walkway throughout. I mean, and again, the DCA has to consider these rules for a reason.
If the measurement of the DCA is 8 feet, and there are, I mean, I personally cannot vote for something which is less than 8 feet through the real obstruction of the tree. And I can tell you that all the other Sidewalk Cafe applicants in the neighborhood have agreed to that. You would be really an exception.
Kobe, what's the like? Your plans are very small by the time they got to me. What's the pedestrian clear path? It's 8 feet, 8 inches.
Let me look at it. Hold on. I have it in my notes here. This is.
Christine, the other thing, do you have the floor plan, the Sidewalk Cafe plan in front of you?
I'm trying to open this for
Okay.
whatever reason. I didn't get ready properly. Material, okay. Dropbox, let me open it. I didn't realize there was a Sidewalk Cafe. So it's 515, right?
Right.
West 15th Street. Oh my God, that's a lot. Okay.
Okay. Well, Donald, do you know what the clear path dimension is?
I'm looking at the plans now.
It's I've got it at around 6 feet.
Yeah, this is not.
Well, no, it has to be 8 feet. The number looks like 8
Well, no,
feet.
I'm saying from the tree bed.
Oh, but what's the entire thing from the curb to your Sidewalk Cafe? 8 feet, 8 inches?
Hold on, it's something like that.
I just can't read the
Maybe
inches.
more. Hold on. No, it's over 9 feet.
Okay. Can you see the numbers on there though?
It's 9'9". Sorry. I can see it.
9'9"? Okay.
Yeah.
Christine, that probably deals with most of the tree foot problem because that's an extra 1 foot 9 inches. So isn't a tree usually, how far is a tree usually set back?
It's either 4 or 5.
4 or 5 feet?
These are young trees.
Ma'am, you're gonna have, I mean, if you're saying from the trunk, you'll be at about 8 feet. Because the trunk of that tree is inset about a foot, about a little over a foot and a half.
Okay.
What would be helpful is to have a measurement and an architect showing the measurement to the trunk of the tree.
Welcome, Bert. Our co-chair, Bert Lazarin, has solved his technical problems. Nellie, is there anyone from the community indicating they want to speak on this?
No.
Okay.
Who's the architect who did this? Who is the architect? The architect is there in the meeting?
Steve Waygoda. He's done probably more outdoor cafes than
Yeah,
anybody.
I'm not surprised that it's Steve, right? Steve would always try to pull a fast one.
The other thing I was wondering about, Christine, were the 4 tables right at the corner.
Yeah, right.
But again, I don't know the traffic in this area, so I think Bert said he went by it.
Yeah, the issue for me are the 4 tables in the corner. It's a wide street. The trees are just recently planted. The sidewalk is completely new because of the construction. So the trunks of the trees are barely 2 inches.
Yeah, but I mean, if you walk into them, you're still going to be stuck.
But how far are they? About 1.5 feet from the curb, Bert?
No, much less.
Much less.
Much
So that
less.
gives you much more clearance.
They're,
Okay,
much,
so-
they're much closer to the curb.
Okay, so Christine, if the sidewalk is 9 feet 9 inches to the Sidewalk Cafe, it sounds like, at least given the current size of the trees, there is 8 feet from the tree trunk to the Sidewalk Cafe.
Okay, well, it would be nice to have the architect mark it up and measure it.
Okay.
That would be helpful, yes.
And then remove the one at the corners, maybe the table at the corner, isn't it?
Why would those be?
What is the issue with the tables at the corner?
Well, our experience in other location is that when handicapped people with a wheelchair come up the curb, they have a hard time, going up the sidewalk. And we have that situation in other location where it has been really an issue.
I think you've got.
We have,
9
well,
feet.
you have over
9
9 feet.
Yeah, that's the rule.
So
And we have 9
forgive me,
feet
but
in the other locations as well.
And what it is that if the corner ever becomes trafficked, tables sort of that close to the actual corner do obstruct traffic in a way. It's just the way pedestrians tend to walk around corners. The other thing that gave me concern was that those last 4 tables don't seem to be against the building facade, which sort of angles away there. Now, maybe the windows tilt forward and that's why they're there. It's hard to tell from the floor plan.
Yeah, that's a function of the facade.
Okay,
It's not a straight wall down to the street level.
got it. Okay,
Well, subject to having the 8-foot clearance, and how is the tree pit? How is it covered? Covered with what?
I believe they're putting pavers in. It's not up yet, it's still dirt. But I was told it'll be pavers.
Okay, well, subject to those being pavers and having 8 foot to the trunk. So that would be fine, but if it's not the case, then we need to revisit that.
On the plan there, it says it's pavers that are supposed to be flush with the sidewalk. So assuming the plans stay consistent.
well, and if they don't have the pavers, then they have to measure from the edge of the tree pit, so
Yeah.
by DCA standards. So I think we're okay there one way or the other. while we think about this issue, does the committee have any other issues or comments on this application? Okay,
We have nobody from the community has a comment.
right, we already asked about that. All right, Christine, what do you, so the one stip we definitely have is that any storm enclosure will extend no further than 18 inches from the building facade.
And then that why don't we say that the banister is not going to be further than, no less than 8 foot from the tree trunk?
Donald, are you okay with that? Or Kobe?
I mean, God, I just respectfully, and I don't listen. I appreciate that things have run a certain way for a long time. We're about to lose half the restaurants in this city, and I'm shocked that we're now going to quibble over a few inches to hurt businesses that are trying to spend a lot of money to put jobs and people back to work, and to follow the rules. So DCA set rules for a reason. Why don't we follow the rules? Why do we need to go even beyond those rules? There's a reason they're there. And a lot of restaurateurs come here and they give up on these things, and then their businesses close. I don't close my businesses because I stand my ground on these things. I work with the community, and I'm going to be there every day, as is Alex. If there's ever an issue with anything there, you can always come speak to me. But I would be foolish to give up tables outside that are so valuable, especially now with all that's happening.
Well, Kobe,
We are giving up 18th Street tables.
that is true.
Yeah, I mean,
But Kobe, respectfully, none, as we all agree, none of what we're talking about has anything to do with the current situation. What you do now is controlled by different rules that we have no say in. What we're talking about is what's happening in a return to normal. So I don't think it is actually a reasonable comparison to say that what we're talking about now affects your ability to survive through the pandemic. But again, I would reiterate what Donald just said, which is that they can have tables on 18th Street, which they are not, which they are foregoing.
Look, I mean, I don't know. I understand that you're, I understand that this operator is very tense, and that we are all very tense because COVID, and then he is losing a lot of money. And we appreciate the fact that you're going to open a restaurant and you're going to bring jobs back. That is not about that, and that is not about aggravating you on that subject. That is about something we've been really doing for many years, which is maintaining enough path for pedestrian to go back and forth, which is very valuable also for the whole public. And with the trunk and with the measurement, apparently everything works. So you shouldn't have a problem specifying that the distance has to be 8 feet to the trunk. I think that's very reasonable. That's what everybody else has accepted in the neighborhood, all the other restaurants from to now. I don't think that we are not making an exception, and we are not making life difficult for you.
I think what Kobe's saying is that DCA has guidelines on clearances and distances.
We know
they've
that.
calculated, I know you know that, but I'm repeating it. And they have those for a reason, to ensure that there's clearance that's acceptable to them. And I think that our view is, as long as we comply with those clearances, and when we do return to normal with DC approved sidewalks, as long as we're in compliance with DCA, and no one from the community has any objection to the number of seats that we have or anything related to this application, that's what we'd like to have.
And what we've been,
Conversely, Donald, this community board has had its proposed guidelines going back to well before I was on it, which asks that the measurements go from, the edge of the tree pit, or is at minimum the tree, and asks for other reductions, which we again, these go beyond before me, but which, the community board at the time has decided was a better balance of operator and resident.
I think maybe I'm misunderstanding, but I think you guys have to appreciate something here. Like, in order for this, I have to put a railing that goes straight across up 18th Street. So if I lose one table, now if I've got to move the entire if I'm going to move the whole banister over now to accommodate, I'm going to lose one row of tables all the way down the street.
We understand
Unless
that.
I'm
and we are
misunderstanding
not-
what you're saying.
We understand that, and we are not saying you're going to lose anything. Apparently, based on the measurement, you have 8 feet between your banister and the tree. We're just asking you to stipulate to that.
But again, let's say I'm pretty sure it's going to be damn close. But let's say it's 7'9". I'm not going to lose 30 seats so that at 5 foot, that at one part of that curve of 8
So
feet
why
from a
don't we
trunk,
why
I've
don't
got to
we-
move it 4 inches.
Why don't we do something? Because you are not going to be under those guidelines for the next 12 months, right? And DCA, why don't we move that DCA? You have your architect measure, and we take out that the DCA application, and then you come back to us with the DCA application when we are all, when you are way past the COVID discussion.
Because I can't go into a restaurant, if I may, I can't go into a restaurant making this kind of investment, hoping that maybe at some point I get a DCA license for this. I need to know how many seats I'm going to have today so that I can have a fair shot at running a business well. I think anyone would expect that.
So why don't you come
It would be the same as going to look for an apartment and saying, is it a 3-bedroom or a 2-bedroom? I don't know, maybe.
So why don't you come
Same
back
price.
to us with the measurements? Can you do the measurements between now and the full board?
You can probably do that. We can measure it before your full board meeting.
Yeah.
Confirm,
Okay.
let you know what it is.
Okay, Bert, can you, I gotta start taking notes. Can you take over running things?
I'm trying to figure out where we're all at,
Okay.
okay?
So I just want to
Um,
make sure so you are saying that I cannot stip to just follow DCA rules.
Wait, no,
Well, you don't have to
Okay,
stip
all
to
right.
follow DCA rules. You have to do that.
there's no
Okay.
skip about that.
Okay, I was just trying to understand this. So
Yeah, I want to understand it. I came late and I apologize, okay? What we're asking is you're saying to us that it is at least 8 feet, okay? So we want to make sure it's the 8 feet like you're saying. And so we'd like you to do a measurement. Full board is not until January, first Wednesday in January, okay? So I'm sure between now and then, you'll have time to specify the distance. Are you with me? Are we together?
yeah, I'm looking at this going that over 4 inches, I could lose the potential of
Wait, well, let's
15% of my
assume-
revenue
Why are you assuming that you're going to be 4 inches less?
because it's close. I don't know exactly where it is, but I'm looking at the photo of it and I'm like, it's pretty close.
Okay, so
It's a tree trunk.
it's a very small tree trunk. I walked by. It's a baby tree.
Yes, it is.
It's a baby tree. So we're saying that the next full board meeting is January 6th. That's a whole bunch of days between now and then that you can get out with that tape measure or however you want to do your specification there and let us know, let Nellie know what it is. That doesn't seem unreasonable.
Well, I think what I'm hearing is that I would imagine it's not hard to do the measurement, but if we're a few inches short of 8 feet, we're not willing to give up that second row of tables.
Well, let's see what the measurements are.
I mean, can I share the screen? I have a photo of it. I don't know if it's any help.
No, we need a measurement.
Nellie, when would you need these revised, this measurement by? I know we're in the holidays over there.
No later than December 30th.
Okay. That's at least 2.5 weeks away.
I mean, I could have the measurement done in the next 15 minutes. I could just send someone there right now.
Well, I think Christine wants something, official on the plan. So let's do it that way. So,
We
so,
have done
so we're
that
clear,
before.
so we're clear, Kobe, you're not agreeing to take away any tables. All you're agreeing is to give us the measurement.
Right.
And if the measurement is 8 feet or more, everything's fine. If it's not, then, you know, I guess
Proceed.
we'll see how it's voted on at the full board.
Yeah, then we'll proceed from there.
And is everyone okay with the 11 PM Sidewalk Cafe closing nightly?
Yeah,
I'm fine with it.
Oh, Rob, did you want to say something before? I'm sorry.
Nah, I'm good. I appreciate it. I was just echoing what Christine was saying. That's all.
Okay.
okay.
All right. If no one has anything else,
And I
The
just
only
had a
two
question
steps-
about what, Frank, just for a
What?
second, my own information. When is occupancy of the building? Not your occupancy, the residential occupancy.
They're scheduled for TCO in that which is the East Tower in January.
So people.
We're
if
trying to
they're moving
open by
in, they won't
we're
be-
trying to open by May.
You're trying to open by May, but that time there will, hopefully for the builder, the owner, there'll be people in the building already.
Oh yeah, no, they have their first move in, which is the East Tower, which is the one that we're in, is going to be in January.
Oh.
They're at
then
about
people start
they're at
moving in.
about there's about 60% sold in that tower.
Okay. Okay.
okay, so the only 2 additional steps we have are that any storm enclosure will extend no further than 18 inches from the building facade, and that the applicant will submit a revised sidewalk cafe plan showing distances between sidewalk trees and border of sidewalk cafe to the CB4 office by December 30.
Mhm. Okay.
So do we have and Donald, you're okay with those, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
You guys, you'll sign off on it. Okay.
we have a motion.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Abstaining? Present not eligible?
Abstain.
Abstain. One abstain.
And Nellie, Teresa voted yes in the chat.
Well, what was the vote in favor? I couldn't count.
It
Nellie,
was
what's the vote?
How many in favor?
Hold on.
everybody present except one abstention.
Just what, how many is that? I can't see from the photos.
1, 2, 3.
9 yes.
9.
1 abstention. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Everyone.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night. So Bert, we're back to agenda item 1 now.
That's agenda item number 1, 199 8th Avenue, the Green Roll.
My name is Reed Rosen. I represent the Green Roll. Guy Vaknin is the majority owner of that entity. He's just appeared on screen, I can see. I have to apologize. We don't have an outdoor cafe. We don't have a full-on premises liquor license. We have a small premises. The certificate of occupancy allows 74 people. My client intends only to use about 45 people, 45 occupants. There'll be no stand-up bar. It's primarily not primarily, it will be a vegan American restaurant, vegan style American food. The capacity right now, the hours of operation right now will be 11 to 11. Obviously, that's subject to whatever the governor and the mayor decide. And that is about it. My client, as you may see from what he submitted already, or what I submitted already, has operated a number of vegan restaurants called Beyond Sushi in the city, some of which, I think 4 have liquor licenses, restaurant wine licenses, and the others do not. This one is large enough to support a restaurant wine license, and that's why we're applying.
Thank you. Any
Reed,
questions?
yeah, just one thing. Reed, did your client want to say anything, or was it just you?
I think he's going to talk, yes.
Okay.
Hey guys, you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So as Reed said, I'm the chef and owner of Beyond Sushi. We've been in business for 8 years. I've had 7 locations. I actually had a place in Chelsea Market, which we shut down, and this is will be my replacement for it. We're going in with a different concept still in the vegan realm, because that's what I do. American bistro, vegan. It's going to be called Willow, and I'm just excited to go back into the neighborhood. It's a restaurant at the Chelsea Market. I just had a 240 square feet little stall over there. So we're applying for the beer and wine. I have beer and wine in 3 locations of mine right now, one on Mulberry, one on 37, one on 56th Street. And I have a full liquor license on the Upper East Side in another restaurant. We're operating currently 5 restaurants. Due to COVID, we had to close 2 that were in markets, and trying to give back my staff their work and opening new restaurants and keep moving forward. And that's it.
Thank you.
Reed, just to clarify your comments about the hours, 11 to 11 will be your maximum hours. The governor may, or the city may shorten those because of COVID, but they can't get expanded beyond that even in normal times, right? Those are the hours.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure.
And most likely, guys, I'll be shutting down in weekdays at 10 o'clock, and in the weekends like Friday and Saturday, we extend it to 10:30. So 11 is when everybody's out of the place.
Okay.
Hey,
Burn
Frank,
out.
quick question about the kitchen hours not correlating with the regular hours.
So we do a last call at 10:30 for kitchen, and then we shut down. We let people finish eating and shut down at 11 o'clock.
Okay. What the closing hours on this form mean to us is that all of the patrons have to be out of the establishment.
Yeah.
Are you planning on that by 11?
Yeah. So by
Okay.
11, everybody's out.
Okay, that's fine.
So the last order goes in at 10:30, everybody out by 11.
Yeah.
Okay,
Bert, that's all I had.
okay. And Rob asked his question. Anybody else from the committee have any questions? Comments? And Nellie, do we have anybody from the public who wants to speak?
No.
I'd like to make a
Rob, do
motion.
you want to speak again?
With no one wanting to say anything and no community comments, I just was going to make a motion to pass.
Go ahead. Anybody want to second Rob's motion?
Second,
Okay. All those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Twee is also saying aye. Nellie,
Me
anybody
too.
opposed?
I'm an aye as well.
Okay, Mike. Abstaining, present not eligible. Think it passes. Good luck.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. And if you don't mind, I'd just like to say thank you very much to Nellie Gonzalez, who I've spoken to so many times over the years, and this is the first time I'm actually seeing her.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay. And we have announced, I wasn't here, but we've announced that what was item number 2 has been postponed. Right? We
Correct.
announced that? Okay. So moving on to item number 3, 745 9th Avenue, Los Andes. And I think we have some letters. Frank, do you want to mention the letters first? Well, let's hear it from the applicant. The applicant, the lawyer for Los Andes.
It's George who's here, but
I think you're
George.
on mute.
George, you're
George.
muted.
Check your mute button, George.
Is he in the room? He's unmuted.
There you go. You should be heard now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Okay, great. All right. Now you said something about letters.
First, we want to know. First, we want to hear your presentation because we do have some letters from the community.
Formerly was Basara. It was an Indian restaurant on between 50th and 51st Street at 745 9th Avenue. It's being opened by Hippolito Ostos and his sister Norelli Ostos. She is the owner of Fusion, which is on 10th Avenue. It's a Peruvian restaurant. They're also opening up a Peruvian style restaurant at the same location. It's a little bigger though. The hours that it's a 74 seats restaurant. We have 56 seats at the table and 12 at the bar. The hours that we've requested is from 10 a.m. to 1 a.m. Monday through Wednesday and Sunday, and 10 a.m. till 2 a.m. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We did attend a meeting of the block association that covers that area, and we just went over the whole thing with them. We agreed to a stipulation as to the storm closure and as to the hours that we can have the doors open where music is playing. That's how the meeting was. I have not seen anything from the block association, but I assume that's what is the correct statement of what happened. The application before the board does mention that we are looking for a outdoor cafe, but that is, I did that sort of as a courtesy to let you know that's our intention. It's not anything that we're doing at this time. We haven't filed our license yet. Now this matter was put over a month because of our attendance at the block association. So the outdoor cafe, we will follow all the rules. We'll notify the board. We'll be before the board on it. And, we really haven't gone into it very deeply yet to see measurements and things like that as of yet. But I did as a courtesy to the board so that when we do file, you'll realize that that was our intention. This is the style of the restaurant, as I said, is Peruvian. Fusion is a smaller restaurant on 10th Avenue. This is going to be a little more larger. It'll have, I think, a bigger bar. We feel there's a need for a good Peruvian and real Peruvian food. And that's why they've gone into it. And if you have any questions, we're ready to answer them.
Thanks, George. So we do have a letter from Steve Belita, the chair of the HK 4954 Block Alliance, which I'll summarize. Steve says, Los Andes stated they were a restaurant and were looking for 2 a.m. closing Thursday through Saturday, 1 a.m. closing Sunday through Wednesday. They also had a sound engineer with his report present who stated that the ceiling would be, quote, sponged, unquote, to absorb sound from any background music. All doors and windows would be closed if music was playing. They stated at a later date they would like to apply for Sidewalk Café, but not at this time. The only concerns I received from our block association was problems with the previous owner. They were promoters being used with loud music, blasting out the open French doors. The applicant stated they would not be playing music that could be heard outside the restaurant. I don't know of any complaints from the other establishment. We believe the applicant is sincere in their proposal and there were no objections to this application. George, just a couple of technical things. Your form's a little unclear, but you want the 2 a.m. only Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, right? It's 1 a.m. every other day, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I gather you'll agree to our standard storm enclosure stip. It won't extend any further than 18 inches from the building facade. You didn't circle any music on the form. You're going to have background music though, right?
Yes, it is going to be background music.
Okay. And you said yes to having a canopy. But I think the word canopy sometimes is misunderstood. By canopy, we mean the thing that goes across the sidewalk and has poles like apartment buildings have.
Right, for shade and to keep out of the rain, you know.
No, I don't mean an awning that just comes off from the building. I mean one of those things like apartment buildings have that go all the way across the sidewalk and have poles.
If that was my error, I believe we're talking about an awning that will be put up, you know, when it's the weather and the time.
Yeah.
We'll pull it out and take it in when it's not necessary.
Okay, so I'm going to say no to the canopy question because that's what we mean by the term canopy. I appreciate the heads up on the Sidewalk Cafe, but we'll have a stip that this current application does not extend to a Sidewalk Cafe, correct?
No
Okay.
problem.
And then the last thing was the doors and windows closed whenever there's music inside. Steve Belita's letter said you would agree to that. Your form says except as permitted by law in answer to that question. So I don't know quite what you mean by that.
And well, there is a noise code, and the noise code says that music cannot go outside the premises. My personal opinion was that for instance, on an afternoon, not to be able to have the doors open on a nice afternoon because you're playing music for people who are having brunch or something. But the board seemed to say that any music that is played and the doors are open would be something they won't agree to. I thought that was a little bit strong, but you know, we want to open.
Okay.
And if that's the rules we have to go by, we'll do it. But you know, we rather have. I think we can be trusted. My client can be trusted to operate in respect to the community and not do anything that will be, you know, upset the community. And I don't think that having. And I live on 10th Avenue, and I know 9th Avenue very well. And you know, to have music played inside is very common with doors open. I mean, I walk up 9th Avenue every day. But you know, as far as we've agreed to the stipulation, we'll agree to it.
Okay, so I thank you for that. And this is not a comment at all on your client. It's something we ask about from everyone because we found that, you know, once there's music and the doors and windows are open, all you need is, you know, one person, one employee who's not versed on the stip and just turns the music up. So we found the sort of black line rule is better. So, and it also appears it was important to the 4954 Block Alliance because they put it in their letter and they said they've had problems with this very issue at this location with prior operators. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to cross out this as permitted by law in your form and just leave it as a straight yes that you'll keep the doors and windows closed whenever there's music playing.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And that, Bert, that's all I had.
That's all you have. Okay, anybody other committee people have any questions, comments?
This is Rob. The door out front. So they are during warmer weather going to be utilizing the door, correct?
I'm sorry.
The door that the glass wall in the front that moves back during the warmer time, they would like to open up the door, correct?
Are you talking about the French door type of thing?
Yeah, in the front.
Well,
what they're agreeing to, Rob, is that they can open it when there's no music or amplified sound inside, and then it has to be closed at 10 and 11 p.m. no matter what.
10 or 11 certainly is
Okay.
not
Okay. And they have a built-in vestibule, correct?
I'm not sure if there's a space. I wouldn't necessarily call it a built-in vestibule right now, but it's still in progress now. We're still working with.
Well, it's just the blueprints that we have. It shows a vestibule inside. That's all. I'm just questioning. I just wanted to make sure that whenever that wall is open during warmer weather, that it is turned down to the point that it doesn't bleed out into the street. There's no music. That's all.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
They've agreed to that. Okay. Any other comments, questions? Nellie, do we have anybody from the community?
No, no one.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I'd like to make a motion.
2 motions in a row, Rob. Okay, anybody second?
Second.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Twee also says aye. And those opposed? Abstaining? Present not eligible. I think it passes. Okay,
Thank you very much.
see you at full board. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on. Item number 5. 442 West 33rd Street. This is a new hotel in Manhattan West.
Get out of this.
May I proceed, Bert?
Yes, you may.
All right. Thank you, Bert. Thank you, Frank, Christine, Wendy, everybody else's face I see in front of me. Twee. My name is Max Bookman. I'm an attorney. Thank you to the entire committee for your time and attention tonight on an exciting application for the Pendry Hotel, which is really the centerpiece of the Manhattan West campus that Brookfield is building. So I have several people with me tonight. I want to just introduce a few of them. Michael Firstman, he is with Montage. Montage is a recognized leader in the hotel industry. They have hotels throughout the United States, California, Utah, South Carolina, Hawaii. Michael is co-founder of Pendry Hotels and Resorts, which is the luxury brand of Montage, and that's how this hotel will be branded. It's the Pendry Hotel. Also with me tonight is Michael Stillman. Michael Stillman is the founder of Quality Branded, a quintessential New York City restaurant group. They have restaurants all across the city. Most of them start with the word quality. So there's Quality Italian, Quality Meats, Quality Eats, Quality Bistro. They have a great quality restaurant on the Upper East Side where I live that I regularly frequent. Well-known New York restaurant group with a really good brand. Michael's father and partner is Alan Stillman, who founded TGI Fridays and Smith and Wolinski. So it's a restaurant group with a long and good heritage. So those two companies, Montage, the hotel owner and operator, and Quality Branded, the restaurant operator, have been brought together by Brookfield to operate this hotel. And so with me from Brookfield primarily is Alan Chun. Many of you on the community board may know Alan just because he has spearheaded the Manhattan West project for many, many years. Brookfield has, the members of this board know better than me that Brookfield has been kept the community and community board very involved throughout the entire Manhattan West construction process. Not just on liquor licensing, although I remember many years ago at this point meeting with some members of the community board to preview what the various liquor licenses were going to be at Manhattan West, this hotel being one of them. So this application is a long time coming, as is the Manhattan West project. Like that other large new development to the west of Manhattan West, Manhattan West is a new neighborhood, and it's a little more compact, but it's a new neighborhood. Office buildings, there's a residential building. This board is aware of the liquor license applications that have come before you already. Pendry is the hotel is obviously the centerpiece of that, but it's promoted to office workers and the residents alike. Manhattan West is promoted for its work-live environment, its work-life balance. So everything that you could want, either as an office worker or as a resident, is at your fingertips. And a big part of that is the F&B offerings that the Pendry Hotel will have. So I know it's a big packet. There's a lot of information in there. Pete Crockendalis is on the phone from Casira. They did their usual, very thorough, excellent outreach effort, which I'll just touch on in a moment. But everything you see in your packet really boils down to 4 F&B spaces. There are 4 F&B spaces in this hotel. And so just to tell you, identify them and then just tell you a little bit about each. The 4 spaces are the lobby, the restaurant, which will be ran by Quality, what we call the 6-pack bar, which will also be ran by Quality, and the rooftop. The lobby, I'm going to spend the least amount of time on because I think you folks are going to care the least about it. It's a hotel lobby. There's a small lobby bar in the hotel lobby, primarily for guests of the hotel. And there's a little seating area next to the bar that we call the garden room that hotel, anyone who buys a drink at the lobby bar can sit at. That's on the first floor. Also on the first floor is the restaurant. So that's number 2, is the restaurant. Restaurant is going to be another Quality branded restaurant, just like their other restaurants. It's going to be ran in a first-class style. They have a really good menu. There's indoor and outdoor components to the restaurant. The outdoor component will be a Sidewalk Cafe, but it's not going to be on any street because it's in the plaza that Manhattan West has built. So as everybody knows, what would be 32nd Street is the plaza, and right up against where the Quality restaurant faces on the plaza, we're going to have a Sidewalk Cafe. We have plans that we show in our plans where that's located, but it's in a big plaza, so no clearance issues, none of those DCA issues. So that's number 2. Number 3 is the 6-pack. The 6-pack is going to be a little more casual than the restaurant. We call it the 6-pack only because of the unusual way that the building is shaped. If you look at the floor plans, it looks like a 6-pack of beer. That's not going to be what it's actually called, but that's what we call it. So 6-pack also ran by Quality. This is on the 2nd floor. It also is going to have indoor and outdoor components, and that includes a small outdoor terrace on the 2nd floor looking over the plaza that we expect to accommodate about 65 people. And then so that's number 3. Lastly is the roof. The roof is on the top of the building. It's completely outdoors, and it's another small space, 75 people max. That's going to be ran by Montage, the hotel operator, and primarily geared towards hotel guests, where it's not really going to be advertised as the way the 6-pack is for anyone other than the hotel. It's not to mean that if you're not in the hotel, you're not a guest, you can't come there, but it's geared primarily towards hotel guests, and that's largely driven by its small occupancy. Those are the 4 areas. In terms of a few other elements of the application to understand, hours. So the restaurant has standard restaurant hours, 12 a.m., 7 days a week indoors. Outdoors in the Sidewalk Cafe, it's going to close at 11 Sunday to Wednesday, 11 Thursday, Thursday through Saturday. The 6-pack outdoor space and the rooftop outdoor space is going to close at 2 a.m., 7 days a week. In terms of music, there's going to be background music everywhere throughout all the F&B spaces I've mentioned. There's going to be recorded background music. We've put in the application live and DJ in some of the areas, but that's only for events. If we book a wedding, bar mitzvah, corporate event, something of that nature, that's why we have live. That's why we have live and DJ, but not during regular operations. In terms of how late we would play the music outdoors, that's been a subject that that's been an element of our community outreach. There have been conversations as recent as today with Julia Campanelli from the Hell's Kitchen Block Association, who I'm sure is going to want to speak tonight. Our most recent offer to her, which was at her request, was stopping any outdoor background music at 10 p.m. 7 days a week. That's consistent with when programming on the plaza ends, and with a sound limiter that limits any music prior to 10 o'clock to 70 decibels. We had Al Firestein here. He did a report. He says we can go as high as 78 decibels and still be in compliance with the noise code. But we've committed to 70. I don't speak for Julia, but I'm sure she'll, I think we're still a little bit apart on the limiter and what the decibel readings are, but we could talk about that. Last thing I'll say before I open it up to questions is outreach. So like I said, Casira has been part of this project. They've been part of the entire Manhattan West project. The liquor licenses have been no different. As is standard for them, we've met with every elected official with jurisdiction to brief them on the project. We met with Frank, Bert, and Nellie a week or two ago just to break down the F&B areas that I've broken down for you today. We've met with a slew of other organizations, both business and residential organizations, and have gotten support from the following organizations, and these are all in your packet. ABNY, Association for Better New York, Hell's Kitchen Neighborhood Alliance, Kathleen Treat. We have her support with an email that she sent in today. We almost had Julia's support, and I hope to still get it tonight. Manhattan Community Board 5, they sent you a letter. A lot of the quality branded restaurants are in CB5, and they explain that they have no issues with the way that any of those restaurants have been operated. New York Building Congress, 34th Street Partnership, Hudson Yards Hell's Kitchen Alliance, as well as some residents of the Eugene, which is the Brookfield rental building in Manhattan West. So I'll stop talking now, but we're all happy here to answer any questions that the committee may have.
Max, just one quick follow-up. I may have misheard, but on your chart, the restaurant indoors, you have closing at 12 a.m. every day. Did you say it was 11 p.m. on Sunday to Wednesday, or are you keeping it at midnight?
Max, you're on mute.
Sorry, we're keeping the restaurant indoors at 12 midnight, 7 days a week. Outdoors, the 11 and 11:30 is the outdoors.
Okay, no, I thought I must have misheard you about indoor.
Okay.
So I don't know if anyone has been over there. Christine, this is opposite the Union Square hospitality places you and I and Inga visited a year or two ago. So this is on all the outdoor spaces, and the main facade of the restaurant face a plaza, which is sort of mid-block and is raised above the street. Across from the building that contains all these spaces is an apartment building called the Eugene, which is a rental building and is probably the most immediately affected building. I think, Max, you're going to try to find out how far away it is.
Yeah. It's 150 feet away, and if the plaza is what 34th Street would be, we're on our hotel is on between 33rd and, excuse me, I misspoke. If the plaza is where 32nd Street would be, our hotel is essentially between 33rd and 32nd. The Eugene's on the other side of that plaza. And Frank, I know you were talking, but just to comment on that, as far as we're concerned, and this is our sound report backs this up, and this is what Brookfield's experience has been throughout. Not only is the Eugene the most immediate residential building, but it's really the only residential building that we feel stands to be impacted at all by any of our operations. There's just really not a lot of residences elsewhere. The only closest residence beyond that is on 34th Street, which is so we're on 33rd. It would be on 34th, and their backs are facing our back, because our whole building is oriented.
There is
towards
proposals to have residential across the street from the hotel.
I can't speak to that, but I'm sure someone else from Brookfield can.
So the chief divergence from our usual guidelines have to do with all the outdoor spaces. Our ordinary guidelines are for them to close at outdoor spaces at 10 p.m. on weekdays, 11 p.m. Friday and Saturday, and to have no music whatsoever. They're requesting background music in all three of these spaces, and to be open either on the ground floor one between 11 and 11:30, and then the second floor and roof ones till 2 a.m. The Union Square hospitality operation across the plaza has two operations, and they have outdoor seating, both a cafe on the ground level and then a big terrace. But they had initially proposed, their proposal was always in keeping with our hours, closing at 11, the outdoor space at 11 and 10 and 11, and no music. So there was really no debate about those issues because that was what they came in with. The other thing I think we should keep in mind is that as Max alluded to, Brookfield owns the Eugene apartment building across the way, which is a rental building. So, you know, they are sort of in control of all of these spaces. And if one of them is causing problems for the other, it's basically, you know, Brookfield will be there to sort of mediate between the various interests. I know we've seen various emails with Julia Campanelli, but I understand she's here. Nellie, you should move her into the meeting. And when we get to the public comments, I know she'll want to say something. Bert, I'll pass it back to you.
Yeah, I just want to add one.
Just one technical thing, Max. When you answered the question about you're going to allow standing in the outdoor space, you said standing zones, i.e. during private events. I sort of know what IE means, but you mean only standing would only be during private events, right?
Yeah, that's right. So the outdoor spaces are all designed for primarily sitting. The downstairs outdoor space, meaning the Sidewalk Cafe for the restaurant, that's restaurant seating, wait service seating. Yeah. The six pack and the rooftop they are not wait service seating. They are, as you could see from the floor plans, they're primarily designed for people to be sitting down. There's not a whole lot of room for standing in their normal operation.
So just to be clear on your answer on page 5, can we just change it to the question where you say, will applicant allow standing? Can we say standing allowed only during private events?
Well, there's some room for perhaps a few people to stand in the outdoor, in the six pack and the rooftop, and you know, even during normal operations. And so I wouldn't want to go that far.
Okay, well that's a third point of contention. And by the way, you're then misusing IE because you said standing IE during private events, which means that is, I think you meant EG.
As an example.
So
a common mistake, but point is well taken.
So we have three differences from our usual asks on outdoor space.
If I could just, I know you want to turn it over to Bert, but just broadly on a broad comment on the deviation from what your normal stipulations are. Let me just say this. I personally, in our firm, generally endeavor to meet your standard stipulations, and I think they are a good idea in the vast majority of cases. But I do think it's important to note that those stipulations were written for a situation where you have, I would venture to say, where you have interruptions of existing residential life. So if you have somebody who lives on 9th Avenue and you have a hotel coming in across the street and this person's lived here for X number of years, we need some standard stipulations to govern how much we're going to disrupt their life. Similar to Hudson Yards, Manhattan West does not fit that mold. Manhattan West is a built neighborhood, and the Eugene, which is our only residential unit that really is currently in existence that stands to be impacted by our development, is not only is it part of Manhattan West, it's controlled by Brookfield, but part of the promotional materials for it and part of the whole part of the rental promotions that they give is everything in Manhattan West campus, including Michael Stillman's restaurant, and the amenities of the Pendry are at your fingertips. And so I do think that I heard what Christine said on a previous case about not wanting to deviate from stipulations. And while I do generally appreciate that, I think just like with some of the applications in Hudson Yards, there is a better case to do that here, and you can do it in a way that still holds the line for the next person down the line who's not in a new community like this who wants you to deviate from your steps.
And I should add, because Max is too polite to mention it, that in Hudson Yards, we did approve a roof use of the Equinox Hotel until 2 a.m., on the theory that there were no residents around there. And in fact, at the time, our concern, and we requested a sound study, that our concern was that the noise not bother anyone in the park below. I don't know. But at that point, I think we believed there were no residential buildings around the Equinox Hotel. But
there residential buildings constructed there.
And for whatever it's worth, you know, and I'm allowed to say this, you know, the Equinox Hotel would be our primary competition.
And Frank, if I could just jump in here for a moment, I'm sorry. I just want to point out as well, and, you know, Henry Casso, who most of you know and has worked closely, you know, who I've worked closely with for, you know, more than 5 years. When we did the recladding of 450, we did a window abatement program providing city-proof windows that went beyond the required secret requirements for folks facing the project complaints. So we spent a significant amount of time putting city-proof windows in a number of those apartments that actually face onto 33rd. Also, you know, Henry is here and he can explain the level of soundproof windows that were employed at the Eugene, because those folks are impacted currently by construction. So, you know, the design of that building went into ensuring a heavy sound level could be withstood by local residents. And, you know, finally, we have Al Firestein here, who performed the sound study for us. And he could sort of walk us through the music issues we had with Julia. You know, and I just want to point out that, you know, we've worked closely with Julia and we thought we had an agreement earlier. And we're always committed to whatever, and I think, you know, the board can speak to this, is Brookfield's willingness to meet the community more than halfway. And whenever an issue rises, we're willing to, you know, put both our money where our mouth is. And even this week, when we got a complaint about people not wearing masks, Henry took the additional step of arming our security guards with body cameras so we can identify which folks weren't wearing masks. So I think
Okay.
we've demonstrated time and time again.
Let's let Verge or anyone else ask some questions if they have any.
I just want to add one thing that you haven't introduced, that the height of your building compared to the Eugene. If I remember, the Eugene is almost twice as high as your hotel.
Yeah, I'll jump in there. First,
Go ahead, Henry.
I wanted to thank the committee and obviously the board. We've been working together for many years, and I'm always impressed at the dedication and long hours everybody's willing to put in for the benefit of the community. So thank you for that. The hotel is about 200 feet tall, right? So it's a relatively short building in comparison with the towers that surround it. The Eugene is 740 feet tall. Peter touched on something that I'll sort of put a little bit more specificity to. The Eugene, when it was constructed, was done with upgraded soundproof windows, double glazing of a significant thickness to mitigate and attenuate sound. Now, I wish I could say that we did it anticipating that we were going to have a six-pack, but we did it because the district has what they refer to as an E designation, where the Office of Environmental Remediation requires the buildings to have meet a certain standard with regards to sound attenuation, the new buildings in this district. And as a result, the windows up to 400 feet are designed to have 70 decibel at the window and still maintain a quiet environment inside. So, even though the building is lower than the higher building, the building all the way up does enjoy sound attenuation windows, which is common for these modern residential buildings.
Thank you,
Okay,
Henry.
thank you, Henry. I'd like to open it up to anybody else from the committee who has comments, questions. Rob.
I'm just worried about the cumulative effect. I mean, we've got the pen dry, and I understand that they're doing great and everything, and they really want to mitigate, sound and everything. But we've already set a standard with one of the restaurants coming across the way right up against Eugene. There are several other restaurants coming in there right up against Eugene. If you add all this together, okay, they're going to get sound. No one's going to want to be hearing stuff 11 o'clock at night. I understand they own the building pretty much, but I just don't think that it's right. We have a precedent. We need to stick to it, because what's going to happen is that if they get it, the other new people that are going to come in now, right against Eugene, are going to like, well, you gave this to them, so why can't we have this? So I just think we've already set a precedent. We know, there's going to be new residential all the way around there. Let's just stick to guns. I understand it's a plaza, and I understand they can get away with a little bit more. I'm fine with bending a little bit more on other things, but I think we need to stick to our guns and, apply the same rules that we applied to across the plaza to them.
If I could just very quickly, just comment on that. The Union Square Hospitality restaurant across the plaza is a different concept than what we have with the six-pack bar there, and what and what could be, and what they were willing to agree to, may have worked for them, but it's not the same concept as a hotel. So I understand what you're saying about restaurants, but this is not just a restaurant. This is a hotel. It's the centerpiece of the entire development, and so there is a distinction there between what Union Square was willing to do, or I guess I should say able to do, and what Danny Meyer was able to do, and what's expected, what's going to be expected from the residents and everyone else who we're promoting this whole campus to for the hotel.
This is not comparing one business to another. This is about sound, and this is what I'm going with.
Okay, Rob, you made your point, I think, and Max, you did a response. I'd like to go to other committee people. Did I hear Christine?
Yes, I'm sorry I was out, so I missed some of the discussion. My internet went down.
They already approved us, Christine. So yeah, we're moving on to the next case now.
Great job.
I appreciate your sense of humor there, Max.
Look, I think there may be, first of all, I want to acknowledge that the Brookfield organization has gone way beyond the call of duty on making soundproofing for everybody they could around during the construction. And and also my understanding is that, can you clarify that? So all the outdoor spaces are really facing the plaza. They are not facing the older residential building, right?
That's right. Everything is facing in towards the plaza. And not only that, but on the rooftop, the mechanicals of the building, is built back towards towards 33rd Street. So everything faces towards the plaza.
So I in my mind, I would make a difference between what is downstairs and what is on the roof. What is downstairs may be more comparable to what the other restaurants which are around. And maybe there is a logic there of saying maybe the hours outside should be closer to what is, and also, and I don't remember, but we have a guideline of closing the plaza at certain hours, right?
Yeah, Christine, the city planning resolution has the plaza closing at 1 a.m.
Right.
But the conversations that we've had is in context of events, was that events would not go past 10 p.m. right? The larger events, right? And that's sort of our operating rules.
So it looks to me that maybe downstairs there is a case to be made to go to close that open space somewhere at 1 o'clock or before 1 o'clock, because the whole plaza is going to be closed, and you probably.
Christine, I don't know if you missed this, but for what it's worth, for the downstairs, the outdoor space downstairs, are you talking about the Sidewalk Café or the second floor six-pack bar? Because the Sidewalk Café, we're okay with 11 p.m. Sunday to Wednesday, 11:30.
I'm talking about the second floor.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understood what you're talking about.
That's the six-pack.
The second floor, it seems to me, should be consistent with the closing of the plaza somehow. and because you don't want to have the plaza closed, but then everything above completely, on the roof, I don't know, there is this issue with Equinox, and it illustrates perfectly what I'm always saying, which is once we give it to one, everybody wants it. And if you are, but on the roof, you are going to be pretty much higher than the other people, and you are not facing the old buildings. And so I don't know whether we could be a little more flexible, and there is the competition, so maybe there is room to be more flexible.
Christine, as I understood it, if you're talking about the Eugene across the way, the hotel is what, Henry, roughly half the height of the.
Yeah. No, I
220
understand.
versus
It's explained
700.
that it has been soundproof, etc. So I'm just, grasping at straw, and I'm trying to make a difference between the lower floor and the higher floor, because I think there is a dynamic there which is different. That's all.
And I just need to correct something I said. I said the 6-pack bar was on the 2nd floor. It's really on the 3rd floor. It's about 50 feet up. Just to be clear.
Right. Okay, thank you. Anyone else from the committee? Because I've been hearing that there might be people from the community who have something to say.
I would just quickly throw in.
Go ahead, Wendy.
So I would just quickly echo a lot of what Christine said. I do think there is a difference in the fact that just the positioning, and that the space is, primarily looking out onto the plaza. And I know we don't want to be in the business of making exceptions all over the place, but I do think that this is a particularly unique space, similarly to how the Equinox Hotel is a similarly unique space.
Okay.
I just had a clarifying question about the live events and the DJ. Those are all indoors. Is that right?
That's right. To the extent that we have live music or DJ at private events, it would be indoors only. There would never be any DJ or live music outside.
Thank you.
So the answer to Carrie's question, if I understand it, Max, is that any private event is within the confines of the hotel, physically within inside.
What I'm saying is we may do a private event outside, but music
doesn't go with that.
Right. So in other words, to the extent you ever see DJ or live music at the hotel, it would only be indoors and in connection with a private event.
Okay. Good.
With the door shut?
Yeah.
Yes, with the doors shut. Yes, I think we already said that in our packet. So yes, I could say that.
Okay. Anybody else from the committee? Nellie, do you have community people who have their hands raised, want to speak?
Yeah, yes, but Twee has her hand raised.
I didn't see that. Sorry, Twee. Go ahead with your question.
Where's Twee?
Twee?
You're muted.
I think she's having some sound issues, so I believe she might type the question.
Oh, okay. I'm on my phone. I didn't know it was by default unmuted. I just used my phone mute. Sorry for the technical difficulties there. Several questions. Is this a 21 floor building or a 22 floor building?
Henry, could you answer that?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
How tall is the building, is our building?
Yeah, so the pendant,
21 or 22 floors?
It's 22 floors to the mechanical penthouse. It's about 200 feet high, and the Eugene is in contrast is 700 feet.
Yeah, I only asked because your application on page 2 of 9 said 21, but then the sound report said 22. So that clarification helps.
Good
Yeah, thank you. Sometimes they don't include the mechanical penthouse floor. Sometimes they do, and so there's that might be the discrepancy.
Okay. Did you have
Okay,
another
I'm
question?
looking at Yes, I have several. I'm looking at the lobby bar and garden room. It's on page 39 of the 104 PDF we were given. And it talks about the number of customer bars is 1 and the number of seats of the customer bar is 6. But
yes.
Then the next picture, it's a rendering, shows a lobby bar. So is lobby bar and customer bar the same thing?
Yes, so the lobby bar is what we're calling the bar that's going to be in the lobby, and we refer to it as a customer bar only because that's what the State Liquor Authority refers to any bar where someone could walk up and get a drink. So those are the same thing.
Okay.
The customer bar is the lobby bar.
Okay, because the print says that there are going to be 6 seats at the lobby bar / customer bar, but the rendering shows 9 seats.
Well, good catch. We're going by what, we're going by the 6. The renderings, I'm not sure when the renderings were made, but 6 seats at the lobby bar.
Okay. And then I had a general question about the outdoor seating where it shows the rendering with a little crescent-shaped green space and how there's going to be a number of tables. I mean, I think this is generally for the committee because earlier we talked about how, sidewalk cafes are on hold right now. Because this isn't a plaza, is this considered something different where it can be considered?
Yeah, I mean, since it's on the plaza, it's not on sidewalk. So if we were in a non-COVID world, we would not need a Department of Consumer Affairs license for this. This is considered within private property. I know it's not actually private property, but that's just how the city would look at it. So no extra city license is needed for this.
They would not need to get a Sidewalk Cafe license from the Department of Consumer Affairs. They do need to have their state liquor authority license extend to any outdoor spaces. So it would come before us in that connection, even though it's not a sort of technical sidewalk cafe from DCA's perspective.
Okay. The reason why, I mean, partly it's COVID, but partly because I'm trying to compare the rendering with the print. But I'm looking at page 47 of 104 of the hotel restaurant - outdoor rendering, where it says number of tables is 40, but it looks as though there's 45. So I'm not sure. And it's on the same page, the rendering and the print.
Yeah, so these renderings are a little old, so some of the table counts might not exactly match up to what we've presented to the committee. So to the extent there's a small discrepancy with what you've counted, the actual number that we're giving is what controls.
Okay, and then on page 53 of 104, this is where it was confusing because we talked about the 6-pack a couple of times. And it was only towards the end we said it was the 3rd floor and not the 2nd floor. But the print there says it's level 4. So I wasn't sure if level 4, how is that? It assumed it was 4th floor, but now we're saying it's 3rd floor?
Maybe someone from Brookfield can clarify that, Mike Henry.
Yeah. Let me jump in. The discrepancy comes in. It's the 4th floor of the hotel, but it's the roof of the retail, which is the 3rd floor of the retail. And so it's depends on what building you're referring to is why there's a discrepancy or a difference in nomenclature with regards to the floor it's on. But it's the 4th floor of the hotel, but the roof of the 2nd floor of the retail, which is the 3rd floor.
Yeah, that is confusing.
Yeah, it's because the retail spaces, the 1st floor of the retail has like 20-foot floor to ceiling heights, right? The 2nd floor has another 20 foot. So you have like 40 feet in the retail where the bar is on top of. But in the hotel, the floor to floor heights are shorter, right? So they're like 10 feet high. And you could fit 4 floors in the height of where the retail is. They're just not, the slabs or the floors don't line up from the retail that faces the plaza to the hotel.
But Henry, is it 50 feet from in the air? Is that in terms of the?
That's correct. It's approximately 50 feet from where you walk on the plaza.
Okay, and then another question has to do with the level 5. It's page 55 of 104 of the PDF, level 5 meeting rooms and pre-function room. There's a graph at the bottom that talks about private outdoor terrace. Is there a correlating, how do you say it, outline or layout for that? In terms of seats and tables or what is that?
Well, thanks for noting that, Twee. So, I didn't want to throw too much information at the board, but, like any hotel, there is on level 5, there's some small meeting rooms and function rooms. And we did indicate that, in our plans. Obviously, the entire hotel is going to be covered by a liquor license. That's what a hotel liquor license does. And so these rooms are included in that. just for the sake of completeness, we wanted to make sure that the committee understands that one of the meeting rooms where you could have like a corporate meeting, something like that, has a small little outdoor terrace associated with it. So, the only times that would ever be used would be in conjunction with corporate meetings, things of that nature. It's never going to be independently used, and it's not a very large space where, I'm not sure if Henry or someone could speak to how many people, could go out there, but it's a very small little space.
I almost want to defer to Michael from the Pendry. Maybe you can introduce yourself, Michael, and talk about the meeting rooms real quick and how we would use that outdoor space and what the number of people are. But it's exactly that.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Michael Firstman here from Montage and Pendry Hotels. Thanks for having us. On the 5th floor of the hotel, we have a series of function rooms that take up the entire floor plate. Right off of the elevator landing, there's a little outdoor terrace, and we anticipate that as we have it labeled as pre-function space. So oftentimes when groups meet in meeting rooms, they break out and have coffee, have mill around a little bit. That space is meant to be essentially pre-function space associated with the meeting rooms on that hotel floor.
Okay, so it's not used, it's only used for meetings. When we talk about private events, it wouldn't be for like celebratory music, and it could spill out to that.
I mean, it would be used in conjunction with private events. I'd have to defer to my colleagues with Brookfield on the noise and sound issues. We want to be respectful neighbors, so certainly want to play within the bounds here. But it's used in conjunction with the meeting spaces on that floor.
Yeah, but I think that's right. I mean, I think the intention for that space is to have corporate meetings, and for people to have the opportunity to get some fresh air without having to go to the to the ground floor.
But tweet to your question, so no DJs out there, no dancing out there, no one, no one's having a bar mitzvah out there or anything like that.
Okay, thank you. And then the Rooftop Outdoor Bar, I appreciate the relativity of the Eugene being twice as tall as this building. The Rooftop Outdoor Bar, that could potentially be used for private events with music, and because it does say just background only there, but then we mentioned that DJ is for private events.
Well, good question, Tweet. So since the outdoor bar on the rooftop is entirely outdoor space, there's not going to be any DJ or live music on the Rooftop Outdoor Bar, and that's because it's outdoor space. So it would only, even if we did have a private event there, and of course, there's a lot of questions about private events, and that's fair, but the lion's share of the time, this is going to be not private events. But if there was one, it could be out there, but it would be limited to background music only.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Max, while we're talking about background music, I had a question, and this came up, Pete, from your last email, and I hope it's a typo, because you said, if we are, and this is talking about the background music outdoors, if we are at 70 decibels, it's slightly above conversation levels, which is where it should be. And I feel strongly that background music is well below conversation levels.
It's well below.
So I don't know what.
So, but I mean, it's well, what I meant, Frank, was it's well below what we studied at 78. So maybe, Max, is it appropriate for Al to answer this?
Well, not yet, but.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Let me just say, Al's report lets us do 78. We agreed to 70 at Julia's suggestion. My understanding of 70 is that is not particularly loud, and that people would not have to compete with the music in order to speak. But if Al could very briefly just comment on that point.
All right, can everyone hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yes.
Good. First of all, the Eugene and the terraces form a plaza, as has been said. None of the sound is going to leave the plaza, not at the levels that are recommended.
Al, we're sort of getting late and we're still in the middle of the agenda. Could you just answer the question about what decibel level it is for background music and what that means?
70 versus 78.
Well, no, and in particular, Julia's attached a chart saying normal conversation or an air conditioner is at 60. So if you're at 70 or 78, you're already above normal conversation.
Okay, well, all right, here's the answer. It's going to take about a minute and a half.
Okay.
Sound levels of people talking measured 3 feet from an average person talking. Can you see this meter that I'm pointing to right here?
Yeah.
Can you see my voice when I'm talking? You see the level, how it's reaching 72, 74?
Yep.
We can't see the reading, but I'll take your word for it.
You can't see it. Okay. Well,
We'll take your word for it.
well, now you can see it, right?
Yeah.
You can see the level. All right. I am now 3 feet from the microphone. And if I stop talking, the background noise here is below 60. But if I'm talking in a normal voice, it definitely exceeds 70. Now that's just me, one person. All right. That's me, just one person. Now, if I play music, music is going to be from small speakers, and the way I calibrate it is 3 feet from the speaker. No one listens 3 feet from the speaker. If I played music right now while I was talking at 78 decibels, it would sound like this. You see those numbers?
Yeah, wow.
All right.
You didn't make your case there, Al.
No, it's loud.
That was really loud.
Well, that's 78. Well, that's because you have your volumes turned up on your phones and your computers.
Now, Al, that was much louder than your speaking.
That's right.
Okay, it sounded to the human ear almost twice as loud as you.
You can't go by the phone. I'm just showing you this is what's accurate in terms of a meter that's measuring 3 feet from a loudspeaker, 3 feet from the speaker. But when you get 6 feet away from the speaker, the sound goes way down. In fact, every time you double the distance, it drops by 6. Now, just imagine.
No, Al, you're missing my point. You're standing at the same distance from us as your music, and your music was way too loud compared to how loud you're talking.
That's because the phone amplifies everything that's low and drops the level of everything that's high. The phone automatically does that. It has automatic gain control in it. That's called ATC.
I don't think we're going to get anywhere. What is the question, though, we are trying to get?
And the question is, you're trying to determine what 60 decibels is, because 60 has been suggested because it's on the CDC website as talking. It is not talking. Talking is typically 70 decibels, 3 feet away from a person, and that's one person. When you have 150 people, the total level is approximately 83. 78 decibels of background music is below that 83. It's 5 below 83. Is that
clear? We've offered to go to 70, which is which was one of the initial suggestions from Julia, and so it's even less.
It's below it, but it's adding to all the people talking, so it together is louder.
No, because when a sound is below the ambient noise, when you have talking at 83, if you added music that was 83, 2 sound levels added together that are the same are 3 decibels higher than either one. 83 plus 83 equals 86, Frank. Okay. And 83 plus 73 is still 83. 73 is so far below that on a meter, it just doesn't register.
I don't want to get too far afield of this, but I
got a meter. It's not adding is the point. It's not adding the way you think.
I don't want to get too far afield. If I could just say one thing very quickly on this, is that typically, I have defined background music as music that you do not have to compete with in order to be heard. And what my takeaway from Al is that if people talking, general conversations, the amount of people on the rooftop talking is at around 83, and we're agreeing to limit the sound to 70, you're not going to compete with the music in order to speak. And so it won't. And so I think that's the best definition of background music you'll ever have.
We can maybe hear from the public, but I might have some flexibility on hours, but I have serious concerns about music. And I also have serious concerns about you not agreeing to make everyone be seated. Because if you look at your 6-pack, you have 47 seats, but your C of O is 176 people. So that means, if you were going to turn into a disreputable operator, which I'm not saying you are, you could cram an inordinate number of people standing there. And
well, I mean, just on
okay,
that.
I don't want to talk about it. I'm just saying.
Well, no, but I get it. But I just got to say on that point though, the reason we gave 2 columns, one for C of O and one for anticipated capacity, is really pertinent to the 6-pack outdoor space, because we're going to put a lot, and if you see the floor plans, we're putting a lot of vegetation out there for the purpose of taking up space and reducing the number of people who could be out there. So if this slides to be a disreputable operation, they'd be violating the law in 2 ways. One way is that they would be, violating the C of O if it ever got to that number, but it would also be violating what we would stipulate with you and would be incorporated to our liquor license, which is the anticipated capacity. That's what we would tell the state liquor authority.
You have that anticipated in there, which is, a complete loophole. What I have seen in numerous outdoor bars that have problems, it is the standing, it is the difficulty of controlling capacity once people are allowed to stand. Okay, but I think we should try to move on.
I think we need, Frank, I think we need to go. We have people from the public who want to speak. And I think we should expand out, unless there's anybody else from the committee who has a question. And I don't hear any. Nellie, can you introduce who wants to speak from outside, from the community?
Yes, I have Julia Campanelli.
Do we have one person or we have others as well?
Just Julia's hand raised.
Okay, just Julia. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Julia?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
So I'm Julia Campanelli. I'm president of the Hell's Kitchen Block Association, which incorporates 33rd through 36th Street. To say that any sound on the plaza will not impact or be heard by the residents of my block association is false. We hear everything because of the very particular configuration of the Lincoln Tunnel approach that extends from 31st Street to 42nd Street. As both Henry and Peter know, because we've had many meetings over this over the last 4 to 5 years, the sound travels through that Lincoln Tunnel approach and is amplified onto every block, and it becomes much louder. Also, the 70, Peter had an 11th hour phone call with me today, and an arbitrary number of 70 decibels was thrown out today, and I said, well, okay, maybe 10 o'clock close, 70 decibels. I went back and I measured with my dB meter what 70 decibels is, and it is loud. The sound of 70 decibels, and I have measured the sound in those residence apartments that were fitted out with those quote unquote soundproof windows on 33rd Street that are in my building. Sound of 70 decibels is if you are measuring the sound of a jackhammer in the street half a block away and the window is closed. That is 70 decibels. That is loud. I've spent the last 4 years studying, investigating, working with the DEP, with Brookfield, with Sounds of New York at NYU, studying the sound, the source of sounds, the amount, the impact of sounds in my community. The mayor's task force was assigned to my block association last year because of the problem with the noise in my community. The sound will always be heard. So I would say that this block association would ask the board not to approve this liquor license if there's going to be music amplified outdoors. Anybody hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Julia, so is that, let me see if I understand, is that your association's only request about music amplified outdoors? You have no question about hours or anything like that?
Well, we think the hours are a little late, as this is the first hotel in our immediate vicinity. And as there is so much construction going on and we're going to have so many more restaurants and hotels in the area, I think a 2 a.m. close sets a precedence, and I would hate to, that's going to be a problem in the future. Having open spaces, open areas in restaurants or hotels with music, we would like the board to maintain the same precedent that they do for every other place in the community and say, no, you can't have music in an outdoor area. It is a problem, and it is an ongoing problem, especially in our community.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to respond to some of the things Julia said and give some facts about this. Do I have a minute?
A minute or two, no more than that, Al, because we're
Cut me off
moving
after
on.
60 seconds, Bert. 70 decibels inside an apartment is indeed too loud. But to hear 70 decibels from a jackhammer, that's because 3 feet from the jackhammer, it's 32 times louder. It's not 70 decibels, it's 110 to 120 decibels. Every time you add 10, it sounds twice as loud. 5 tens is 5 times 2, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. That's a tremendous difference. So don't get confused Julia, don't get confused between the sound level a few hundred feet from a jackhammer inside an apartment and what the guy who's operating it, who hopefully is wearing earplugs, would hear. And the Lincoln Tunnel, it doesn't amplify the sound, it masks the sound, but it adds to the sound.
With all due respect, Al, I've been studying this. Sounds of New York, a project at NYU has been studying this. It does amplify the sound. If
Guys,
you're
I
saying
can
that
cut in here. I think I can cut this to the chase here.
Hold on a second.
We can cut it. We can cut to the chase here.
We're saying that there are buildings there that are going to be a barrier to the sound. If that were the case, then me in my apartment that faces 34th Street would not be able to hear the construction that's going on at 31st and 9th Avenue. We can hear everything because of the Lincoln Tunnel. That is a fact.
I don't know if we're going to.
Fact, and we've had many discussions about this with Peter and with Henry.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to resolve this issue. So we want to move forward. So Julia had suggested 60. I mean, we clearly disagree, but why don't we take that suggestion?
As I said, this was a phone call that Peter had with me today.
Well, and an email,
an arbitrary number.
And the suggestion was 60.
And I have withdrawn that because I have taken a meter and I've measured the sound and I've looked at your operating
let me
schedule.
Make a suggestion here, Julia.
Yes.
They're suggesting 60. I don't know how you react to that. Can we, because we're going to be meeting again. We might make some stipulations in our final resolution here, but I think you and Max and Peter and et al. Should continue your conversation.
That's fine.
We would appreciate that, Julia, if we could continue the conversation with
Sure,
regards to what the appropriate.
But also bearing in mind that you have 3 open areas with a total of 470 capacity patrons, not including employees, who are all going to be talking over the music.
Agreed, understood.
I mean, Julia, you threw out 70, you threw out 60. Now we're willing to take.
I didn't
60.
throw it out. That was an arbitrary number that we said, well, we could limit the dBs at whatever level.
All right,
We're
so
willing to.
So then I got off the
work with
call.
her.
Well, I'm sorry, but
this is a conversation that you need to take out.
But
and have someplace else.
I have a suggestion. First of all, the rule is that what are the people hearing in their apartment? Okay, and that's the rule, the 45 dB. So one of the steps we should put in is whatever the background music is defined as, it cannot be exceeding the 45 dB heard in the apartment of the building. And if they do, there will be a new sound analysis, and there will be an adjustment on the limiters. So I think this is usually what you.
This is good, and this is right on, and it's for us to do.
Okay.
I also have a sense that Julia and people representing the applicant also have to continue their conversation.
Okay.
But what you're suggesting is something that we would put into
Yes.
our stipulations.
Yes.
Can I also
and
say that I worked in the food and beverage industry in New York for over 10 years. So I do have a little bit of knowledge about how sound systems work. And as a filmmaker,
I don't think anybody's questioning that, Julia.
Okay.
I think we're just trying to create the right environment for both the establishments and the community, and we look forward to continuing the dialogue.
Hey, this is Rob again. I just want to point one thing out. On page 66 to 67 of the acoustic report, they're saying that the rooftop, which is on the 22nd story, is 73 feet away from the Eugene, and anything over 80 decibels over long-term exposure is going to cause hearing damage. So I agree. 70.
even at 70
it's a lot.
decibels.
Okay, but let's.
Guys, that was a typo. It's 173 feet. 173, not 73.
Can we just move on, because I think that's not necessarily the way to.
I agree. Let's move on.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes,
Julia.
thank you.
Anybody else?
Thank you all. Thank you, Julia. And I hope to hear how you resolve your conversation, where you end up, because it's important for us to know that.
Christine, what's the technical wording of the stipulation you were proposing? Is it the level of any music can exceed?
No, it's any sound. The normal, the target in New York City is 45 inside an apartment. So that's where, if there is a disturbance, you would go and measure inside the apartment to see if and that's what we did when we did the sounds for the Highline Hotel. We had multiple measurements taken inside the Highline while they had a party or this or that, and progressively we got down to the point where they adjusted the sound to the point where in the townhouses across the street they couldn't hear the sound. So rather than measuring inside, you have to have a protocol. Right, and you have to have a protocol to agree that no matter number you have, if it disturbs people, then we need to do another measurement and adjust down.
I'm first reacting to that now. I don't, that's a good suggestion. It's not something that anyone on my team has heard, but I think that makes sense and it's workable. And, again, the Eugene is the main building at issue here, and it's a Brookfield residential building. And so I'm sure, if there were issues, people would be willing to let, their own landlord into the apartment to take a measurement.
Right. Because and I'm sure Michael knows that, but the environment of your plaza may have a lot of impact on how the sound is going to bounce around. We don't know that yet. We have not seen it. And until you have all your different, cafes and people talking and things going on, we don't know where the sound is going to be really, and it may be bouncing out, and we don't know.
So I'd want to hear the exact how Frank is exactly writing that up, but we're okay with that, and stopping the music at
and it should be defined at background music, as we all understand. Your definition was pretty good, but let's not pick a number, because the number may be higher or lower depending on the reverberation of the plaza.
Okay.
Do we have language, Frank?
Yeah. If levels of outside sound in any residential apartment exceed 45 decibels, then levels of outdoor music will be reduced until decibel levels are reduced below 45 decibels.
Exactly. And if need be, there will be a sound study, somebody coming and making, you know.
So in
Yeah,
other
I mean,
words,
I don't want to get too far ahead of my client, but that does sound good to me. Does anyone in Brookfield have a
Yes.
problem with that? I do, you know,
No,
for
that's a
Brookfield,
great
you know,
idea.
that is reasonable.
That's very
And I
reasonable.
think
Yeah,
more
thank you for the
workable than what we
suggestion,
came up with.
okay.
Right,
And Max, did you say you'd cut it off at 10 p.m. in all the spaces?
Yes, that's what we offer, Julia, and we're, you know, outdoors, 10 p.m., no more music, and we're going to stick to that.
Can we make sure that includes the 5th floor balcony for the breakout room?
Absolutely, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So now we're left with the hours
And the standing.
and the standing. The no standing, I'm very nervous as well, as Frank is, because that has been, we have had, even in good establishment with well managed, if you start to have your 105 people which are inside deciding to all go outside, that's a problem. That's going to be a problem for everybody. And so I think you need to limit the number of standing people.
We are limiting the number of standing people, and so we've well, yes, you know, we've never said that it's going to be a primarily standing environment. We've said the opposite. First of all, the Sidewalk Cafe is without an issue. That's clearly restaurant seating. The six pack and the rooftop, we've designed it, and our plans show it that it is a seated environment, and it's not waiter service. But it is primarily a seated environment. Now, it's true, and I think this is, you know, Frank appropriately recognized this, that we did leave a little room for some standees, but this is not a primarily standing environment that
Well, how many standees are you planning to have? I mean, are you capable of having, based on the...
Max, if you would make the anticipated capacity numbers firm enforceable capacity numbers,
Yeah.
we'd be okay.
Well, I mean, Frank, you characterized it as a loophole, and maybe we're just not I'm miscommunicating. Anticipated capacity, maybe anticipated is the wrong word. That's what we're committing to, and that's what we're gonna tell the state liquor authority.
Okay, so let's change that column.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And we just wanted to show you that there is some daylight between what the certificate of occupancy is going to say, and that's because of that's because the capacity is calculated in a different way for the certificate of occupancy, but we're committing to less than that.
But I think we are on the same wavelengths if we change the name of this column, saying this is the licensed capacity, right?
Right. So your licensed capacity is going to be what appears in the anticipated capacity column.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
That was always our intention. It was never meant to be a wiggle number.
Right. Max, I think you understand, we do not envision either one of these spaces with like 15 people sitting at tables and 40 people just hanging out, having a cocktail party, you know, walking shoulder to shoulder, back and forth around the room.
No, this is primarily seated in both spaces. Right, and we understand that.
Okay.
So let's talk about
What
the
kind of
hours.
language do you have for that?
I'm sorry?
So do we need language, Frank, for that? Or
No,
we
I
just-
think, Max, if you can redo or we'll just cross out anticipated capacity on your chart.
And that will do it.
Maybe put capacity or maximum capacity.
Licensed.
Maximum capacity per SLA license. How's that?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we could put an asterisk and say applicant commits to incorporate this column into their, you know, into their binding capacity that is on their liquor license.
Right, and make the heading maximum capacity per SLA license.
Okay, so now we're moving on to hours. Thoughts, anybody?
Well, let's start from the ground up.
I'm working up.
Does anyone have?
How about using Christine's conceptualization that she articulated earlier? And I think Wendy agreed with Christine. And I think I'm in that same group, okay? Talking about that the lower levels, like with the Union Square group, are a different atmosphere, a different environment than higher up on the roof, for example. And the hours should reflect that. Is that a good way to say it, Christine and Wendy?
Yeah, I think so. It's just, I mean, it seems like Okay, so the outside, the sidewalk cafe is not an issue. And then we have two space, the 6-pack outdoor, right, terrace, and the roof.
Okay, Christine, so you're okay with the 11 and 11:30 close on the restaurant ground floor outdoor?
Yeah, it's on their plaza. I mean,
Okay. Anyone on the committee have any concerns about outdoor space closing at 11 and 11:30 on the sort of outdoor terrace outside the ground floor restaurant?
Where do you see? Oh, 11:30.
I do. I would prefer it to be a little bit less because across the way, we made them their tables outside, I believe, 10 o'clock. But
that's true.
Yeah, I guess the caveat is they came to us agreeing with our guidelines. We didn't pressure them into it.
We didn't suggest to them.
Well, beyond that, it's our.
They didn't object, and they didn't object.
Yeah.
I'm just saying for common space, why don't we keep it all the same and then like work floor by floor, and as we go up, we could change those. But if we made a rule, and we're gonna have other restaurants are gonna come online too. Let's just keep it all the same on the lower levels, and then as we move up, take it case by case.
I personally don't agree that we have a rule necessarily. That we're looking at the total space. They came to us.
I agree. Not
they suggested 10 o'clock. We didn't come back to them and say, don't you want 11:30? No, they said 10 o'clock. We had no objection to their 10 o'clock.
But I think we should be aware what Rob is saying is like, as soon as we do that, everybody else is going to come back, right?
Perhaps, and perhaps not. It may be a different kind of operation.
And we are a little further from the I'm sorry, Wendy, I didn't mean to speak over you. Go ahead.
No. It's a good point. And I mean, my general feeling is that the principle, that instinct remains the same regarding the plaza being different than obviously just like a regular sidewalk. So yeah, I totally understand the way of thinking of, oh no, like is everybody going to come rush and want super late hours? But I don't think that's the case here. Like, I don't think we have two entities here. One came saying they wanted to end at 10 o'clock. That's great. It was not controversial because we've always said that. But I also just don't think even 11, 11:30 is controversial because of the nature of the plaza. Mm-hmm. And then, we'll see what happens as others come to us.
But it's also cumulative noise. As they said, if you have 73 and 73, it's going to go up to 76. So we're going to have, if we shut everyone off at 10 o'clock, it's respect for all residents and any future residents coming around there. And as it was said, that on-ramp there, that is like an echo chamber, and it goes for blocks. It's just, if
we
keep
agreed to shut the music
in the
at
plaza,
10.
we work our way up case by case. I think it's different.
Time, please.
Yeah, I'll make an opening bid, which is the 6-pack outside. We could do the same as the sidewalk, which is the 11 and 11:30. And the roof, we could go to 12:30.
That does not work for us.
Well, I know it's an opening bid.
And I know the committee's speaking, so I don't want to interrupt any other committee members who may have comments before.
Yeah, let everybody talk about that.
I'm certainly good with the 11, 11:30 downstairs. I would think that the roof could be a little later than 12:30.
Upstairs.
Upstairs at the 20.
Yeah, I could go to 1 o'clock too.
I personally think the plaza, right at cafe level, should be 1. Then turn around a little bit later for the 8-pack, and then the roof, of course, a little differently. But that's my opinion.
I just want to say, and again, this is not throwing it in anybody's face, and I know some people are going to roll their eyes when I say this, but and I don't really ever say this, but the Equinox is our primary competition here, and they do have 2 a.m. and and this is very similar to that, given the new neighborhood that's being built. I just want to reiterate that.
Max, except I think you said you expected the roof to be mostly hotel guests. And I'm not sure how many people would choose a hotel because the rooftop bar is open an hour later.
Well, I mean, I'm not the hotelier, but I think what you've seen in the hotel industry is that, you know, having robust F&B offerings, you know, are what really draws people to hotels these days.
Look at the Gainsbourg, their hotel and their space outside. It's the same thing. It's not really hotel guests. It's other people coming for the venue to enjoy it. I get that Equinox Hotel is their competition, but they're not immediate residential around them. It's 173 feet, you said.
So how can we move on? I mean, you know, if we were at, like Bert and I were talking about maybe 11 and 1, 11 downstairs and 1 upstairs. Are you guys do have? I mean, let me ask the committee members. Anybody is outside of that, or?
Don't all speak up at once.
I mean, to be honest, I'm inclined to give them what they've asked for, just given the nature of the property.
Downstairs and upstairs? No, upstairs.
Upstairs.
Right.
And downstairs we're talking is the plaza, correct? That's what we're talking about.
It's plaza, it's the 3rd floor.
Is the roof of the retail, which is the 4th floor.
The 3rd floor, right.
And
it's back.
And what's being asked for there is
as well.
They were asking.
So for the two roofs, the 6-pack and the real roof, we're asking for 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
I like personally to go lower at downstairs, but you know.
I mean, Max, and your clients, if we did something like 11:30 for the plaza, kept the roof at 2 a.m., but for the 6-pack space, moved that back to 1 a.m., would that work?
You know, that is a big give, but I mean, I don't think it's unreasonable. I think we could live with that. You know, 2 a.m. on the roof, the big roof, you know, on the 22nd floor, 1 a.m. for the 6-pack, and 11/11:30 for the downstairs plaza level. Wendy.
1 hour in one space is not a big give, Max.
I would vote for that if they went down to 10 o'clock on the plaza.
I heard that, Christine. You know, I mean, listen, Frank, I mean, you know, fair point. The reason why I say it's a big give, and again, I don't want to keep harping on it, but you know, there really is this symmetry with the Equinox that we're looking for. But point taken. And you know,
yeah, the Equinox does not have a 6-pack, so you already have an amenity they don't have. So if it's an open at all, you have something they don't have.
Well, if the rest of the committee is okay with
able to take a vote on, right? Why don't we, Bert? Why don't we take a vote?
Well, do you want to take a vote or a straw poll thing?
Oh, okay.
Strong poll.
Straw poll, right.
So let's see what we have out here. We have
11.
At the plaza level, we have 11.
11:30.
11:30 at the plaza level.
Right.
At the 4th floor hotel level, which is the roof of the 3rd floor retail, okay, we're talking, help me here, what hour?
1.
1 o'clock, okay. And what are we talking about on the roof? 2?
2.
Yeah.
Okay. My straw is agreeing with that.
How do we do?
I'm opposed.
Say what, Frank?
I'm opposed.
I'm opposed.
Okay. Frank, which way are you opposed? Which hours?
Chief, I could only agree to the 2 a.m. on the roof if the 6-pack comes down significantly.
What's significant?
Same here.
Midnight at the latest.
Midnight, I agree.
And if they want to go later there, then the roof's got to come down.
12 and 2.
Yeah.
Max, could that work for you guys?
What if we just evened it out at 1 across the board?
Don't you want to be equal with the Equinox at 2 o'clock on the roof?
I think 1 across the board
Well,
will hobble us enough.
I see in the chat, Julia asked that we make the closing times consistent, so.
So wait, just to clarify, 1 o'clock for the roof, 1 o'clock for the eight pack or 6-pack, and then a different time for the plaza.
11/11:30 for the plaza.
Yeah. So I think 1 o'clock is a good idea across the board. It's not a bad idea.
Okay.
It works for me.
Is there any opposition to those hours from the committee?
So we're at 1, 1, and 11:30.
Yeah.
Yes, me, but I'm just saying I would still like the plaza closed earlier.
Okay.
We heard you, Rob. Thank you.
All right, so let's summarize this and then we can take a vote, formal vote. So the attachment 3 method of operations chart, the anticipated capacity, and Max, if you can make these changes, it'd be great. The anticipated capacity column will now be called maximum capacity per SLA license. And you'll include a footnote that you're going to put that in the license. The hours for the outdoor spaces are going to change. For the 6-pack terrace outdoor is going to be 1 a.m. on all nights. The rooftop outdoor bar is going to be 1 a.m. all nights. There are additional steps that all music in all outdoor spaces will see, all music or amplified sound will cease no later than 11 p.m. in all outdoor spaces.
10.
And then if levels of outdoor sound in any residential apartment exceed 45 decibels, levels of outdoor music will be reduced until decibel level in residential apartments are reduced below 45 decibels.
The
There was a
music
question about
closing at 10.
Yeah, we did say 10 for when all outdoor music stops.
10.
You said 11.
You got that, fine?
Yeah, I said, sorry, yes.
You misspoke. You misspoke, Frank.
it's
Yeah,
10.
it's 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The applicant had 10 from the beginning. Nothing to negotiate.
Okay.
Well, they had 10 after discussing it with Julia.
That's right.
You did a good job.
Julia's still asking that, she says the roof bar is a huge draw in Manhattan. Please make close time 12 a.m. Just want to make sure that was heard. All right.
Do we have a motion, anybody?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Did you raise your hand as a second, Christine?
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor? Mike, which way are you voting?
I say aye, but I changed that column heading to permitted, maximum permitted capacity.
I see Twee is aye. Okay. All those opposed?
Aye.
One opposed? Abstaining? Present not eligible? Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you all.
Thank you for your time and attention. I know this took up a lot of time. We really appreciate it.
And we appreciate all of your forces coming out and sitting through this with us. So thank you.
Thank you as
pleasure.
usual.
And thank you to Marty Mailer for patiently waiting through all of this.
Frank and Bert, thank you. We appreciate it. And, obviously we'll keep in touch on everything.
Yeah, because one thing I remember is that you guys and Julia will be continuing your conversation and let us know where that goes.
Absolutely.
Bert, we'll do.
We talk every day to begin with,
Okay.
virtually. Thanks.
Good night.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Item 6, another hotel, 325 West 33rd Street. The 5 points is the operating tenant.
Yep. Good evening, members. My name is Mastin Sansom. I'm the attorney for the applicant. I'm joined here tonight by Joe Keenan. He is the general manager, I believe. Joe is on. I did see him earlier.
Right here. Hello, everyone.
There he is.
Joe.
As you mentioned, this is a hotel application. It's for Fairfield Inn and Suites. The property is currently licensed, and this application would essentially, with a few, with one exception that I'll talk about in a minute, would essentially mirror the current licensed premises. There is a patio, and there also is a rooftop. And one of the differences with the current applicant or the current licensee is we'd like to see a possibility of possibly extending the hours to 1 o'clock on the weekends and 11 o'clock during the week. In exchange, we would like to offer up ceasing music, because actually it's currently licensed, and music, just recorded background music, is outside on that rooftop space, but certainly would be willing to cease music at an earlier hour if you'd be amenable to maybe allowing the outdoor space to close at 1 o'clock on the weekends and 11 o'clock during the week. Again, it's a hotel application, and those are kind of the really the nuts and bolts. There would be no music on the outside patio area, so there would only be background music on the rooftop, which again is what's been happening under the current license.
Yeah, well, it may be what's happening, but so we had prior steps with the Fairfield Inn when it opened in 2012, and when they opened, the agreement with there's both a patio in the back of the hotel on the ground floor and a roof, and they agreed to close both at 10 and 11, and also to have no music in any outdoor space. So I don't know what's happening, but the agreement was no music.
Okay.
Are you suggesting, Maston, the same hours for the ground floor space too, or do you have different hours for the ground floor?
Let me see. I think yeah, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're looking for the same hours on the patio spaces as well as the rooftop. So both outdoor spaces if possible. But Joe, if you think if that's different, let me know.
Okay.
No, that sounds right to me. This sounds what we discussed.
Okay.
And Frank and I did a site visit with you guys, and noticing that you have a residential, 100% residential building to one side of you, am I correct? To the side of you, and a semi-residential to the west side of you. What kind of contact have you had with the residents in those buildings?
So from what I've gone through, I've went over there, tried to reach out to the building manager. He was unavailable. He's fully aware of the board meeting. Provided them the sheet, the advertisement of the meeting, as well as my contact information. To my knowledge, as music, so I am newer to the property, but to my knowledge, as the music has been going for the last several years, there have been no complaints from the residential building at all in regards to our operations.
I believe is separated by a parking lot.
Yeah, it's not flush.
Not flush, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So what are the hours that you are requiring? I missed that. What are they requesting compared to what we had before?
I think the hours that are currently there are the 11 o'clock and 10 o'clock. Okay. Looking for 1 and 11.
You are looking for 11 and 1.
That's correct.
Right.
Okay. Any questions, additional questions, comments from committee members?
I guess I'm more troubled by the patio, the first floor patio than the roof, and would be inclined to support the roof at those hours if we did the patio at 10 and 11, and cut off and no music in the patio, and then on the roof do what we just did with the other place, have any music cut off at, background music only, cut off at 10, and with the same stip that if anyone can hear, if anyone's apartment is above 45 decibels, they got to bring the music down until it gets below 45 decibels.
I agree with
I would
Frank.
support that.
I'm good with that.
Joe,
Well,
Matt?
Yeah, Joe, I think that's certainly a reasonable compromise there. If you're okay with it, I'm certainly okay with it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I know we had the last conversation with the luxury hotel previous to us, but we are a rooms focused operation. The bar is, it's an amenity. It's there for convenience. It's not a jewel. It's not a crown on top of our hotel. It's just there to help our guests. We're rooms focused. So absolutely sounds great to us.
I'd like to make a motion then.
Oh, wait, let me just read this so we get it on the video.
The first, everybody, is there anybody, Nellie, from the community that signed up to speak?
There's no one left from the public.
There's no one left. Everyone's gone. It's just us.
We've been abandoned.
They can't take it anymore.
They don't want to listen to us? You're gonna watch us on YouTube.
That's it.
Go ahead,
How
Frank.
about
Just
before
for
I
the record, I'm
summarize-
still holding on, Bert, Henry.
Okay.
Oh, you are.
Thank you.
Thank
You were
you.
just making sure we didn't give these people more than we gave you.
I think it's not polite to leave before it's over.
Oh.
Does anyone from the committee have any more comments before I summarize where we are?
I think there is a comment about the vestibule there, or not?
No?
I think it's on private property, right? Isn't it set back? You mean the storm enclosure?
Yeah.
Oh, see when I printed this out, I can't see the answers. Just to some.
It says they will have a storm enclosure. So, Maston, can you explain where the storm enclosure is going to be?
It does say that we will have a storm enclosure. I think that might be if we look at the photos. Now, by storm enclosure,
It's one of those plastic vestibule that protrudes on the.
yeah, Joe, we're not, that's not in place, correct?
No, we have the breezeway in the main entrance, and then the only thing I could think of, actually that's it. There's
So
no-
let's fix that on your application.
Yeah, I will, that's an error, and I will note to make that change.
Okay.
Okay, let me just check that before we forget. So we'll change that to a no.
Yep.
Okay. So this is what I have. No music or amplified sound in first floor outdoor patio. First floor outdoor patio will be closed and vacated if patrons no later than 10 p.m. Sunday to Wednesday and 11 p.m. Thursday to Saturday. For the rooftop, will be closed and vacated if patrons no later than 11 p.m. Sunday to Wednesday and 1 a.m. Thursday to Saturday. Background music only. And if levels of outside sound in any residential apartment exceeds 45 decibels, levels of outdoor music will be reduced until decibel levels in residential apartments are reduced below 45 decibels.
Okay.
You folks okay with those? Baston, Joe?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
absolutely.
Do I hear a resolution?
Motion.
I'd like to make a motion. Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Opposed? Twee is voting for it. Abstaining? Present, not eligible? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you
Have a
all
good
for your
night,
time.
everyone.
Good night.
Night.
Our last applicant on the agenda, 621 West 46th Street, Hudson 46 Inc.
Good evening. My name is Martin Mailer. I am the attorney that's going to file the application for this venue. It is currently operating, well, I'm using that term loosely because of COVID. It's not really in operation, but it's an active license. It is in the form of a cabaret restaurant. This will basically continue the operation as is. As we noted in the questionnaire to you, there is a retractable roof on the 3rd floor, and there was a site visit of that retractable roof, and it fully encloses. We have no intention of having any noise emanate from that space that will in any way impede anybody in the area. And while we're talking about the area, there is absolutely no residential presence in the area. I think you have to go 2 blocks either south or north to actually see any residential presence. As I said, the existing enterprise has been around for many years. To my knowledge, it does not have any problems or did not have any problems. And the applicant is a seasoned veteran. He's worked with his uncle in Delmonico's. He has his own premises and is fully capable of running an orderly ship. So that everybody understands, the space is located on the 2nd and 3rd floor. There's not going to be any sort of outdoor cafe or anything like that. All we're doing is asking, we're asking till 2 in the morning during the week, on weekends 4 a.m. And also on weekends. What I mean by weekends, I mean Friday night and Saturday. And on Sunday, we're asking, Saturday and Sunday, we're asking for a 10 a.m. start because I believe he'd like to get some brunch in. We've given you the menu. It expands greatly on what is what the current premises caters to. And Mr. LaCool is here. If you have any questions, please direct it to him in terms of any specificity as to what this premises hopes to.
And I believe he's standing under the retractable roof, right?
I'm sorry, what?
I believe your client's standing, he's in the space, right?
Yes. Okay. I can't see him from my. Joseph, are you there?
I am here. Hi, guys.
Oh, yeah, there he is. That's the space.
Rob, I think you need to mute your phone. Brian.
I'm already muted.
Okay, so we're hearing feedback from someone. Brian, your building's probably one of the nearest ones. Do you know if there's been any problems with this place under prior operations?
No, I don't think so. It was the club across the street that had some sound bleed. I don't know what the rooftop regulations were for prior stipulations.
Well, we actually couldn't find any. I think because for other reasons, when this first opened, the community board opposed it outright because they were in the process of trying to get this area zoned in a different way than it ultimately was zoned. And the community board was opposing any kind of new clubs in this area. But Martin or Joseph, I gather you'll agree that when the roof's open, there won't be any music or amplified sound out there, right?
Let Joseph answer that.
Joseph, you okay with that?
Yeah, when the roof is open, there will be not sound. No.
Okay, and will you agree to fully close the roof by a certain hour nightly? I mean, you can throw something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, midnight.
That would be okay with me. I don't know about the rest of the committee.
I think 11. I do have a sort of concern. So, and the operator, I guess, could talk more about it. Jimmy's is known as, I guess, a party brunch spot.
Correct.
Right, and I don't oppose this specific location being a party brunch spot. But what is your security plan? I don't see anything attached. And have there been any issues in Community Board 5, I believe?
So as far as the security goes, basic guidelines are one guard per every 75 people. And we usually have about 2 doormen to 3 doormen at the door. It's actually 2 men and 1 woman at the door. And basically, I try sometimes to actually put a guard per 50 people. So I'm well known when it comes to large gatherings. And as far as, let's say, exiting the building, I usually break it up into sections in the evening. So everyone's out respectfully.
Frank, have we heard from Community Board 5 regarding any operational issues?
No, we can check though before full board. Nellie, can you make a note to do that?
Yes.
Okay. And Brian, if they put in writing what you just said about security, does that sound reasonable for you in the area?
Yeah, that's
okay.
I'm not opposed to their brunch type of operation in this location.
Okay. So Martin and Joseph, if you could just, it doesn't have to be from a security firm. If you just put together a document called security plan that you say you'll adhere to, which is, as you said, the 1 guard per 75 people, what you have at the door, anything else you want to put in there, but just something we'll attach to this. And if you could get us that by December 30.
All right, we'll try to have it within a day or 2.
And your dispersal, how you're letting people out in groups, not all at once. That would be important as well.
So if you put that in the security plan too.
No problem.
Could you also talk about, I guess, 2 things? Will you be doing all you could drink specials?
I'm sorry, what?
Will there be all you could drink specials as part of a brunch or dinner?
We won't be doing any unlimited brunch drink specials. We will be capping the reservations for about 1.5 hours to 2 hours, but it won't be an unlimited brunch, no.
So can we put a stip into that effect? No unlimited drink specials?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And when you say, Joseph, you're capping the reservations, I mean, if I made a reservation for 11, I have to be out by 1, is that what you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
This is Rob. Sometimes when places have drink specials, they give them like 1 hour to 1.5 hours to enjoy that, like 90-minute window. And that's fine. It's not an all night thing that they're going to be sitting there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he's agreeing to no unlimited period, even apart from the reservation window.
Okay. Good. Any other questions from the committee? And I take it, Nellie, there's nobody from the community?
Nope.
Okay.
Okay, so let me just summarize this. Let me summarize this briefly. The retractable roof on the 3rd floor will be fully closed so that the outdoor space is fully enclosed no later than midnight nightly. There'll be no music or amplified sound in the 3rd floor outdoor space while the retractable roof is open. Applicant will submit a security plan to CB4 office no later than December 30. An applicant will not offer any unlimited drink specials.
That's acceptable.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
Move to approve.
Okay,
Second.
Mike.
Second.
And from Wendy, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Twee is yes. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Present not eligible. Okay.
I'd like to thank the committee for hanging in there. It's been a long night. It's been a long night for everyone. We really appreciate it. One final post note. I don't know if this means anything to anybody, but this is the 40th year of the death of John Lennon. And on a personal note, I still grieve when I think about John Lennon, a true genius. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
And stay safe, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
And if the committee could stay on, because we have 2, I hope, brief discussions. Henry, you can politely excuse yourselves at this point.
All right. All right, have a good night. Thank you very much.
At least you took off your tie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good night.
Two things. I'll do one and then Bert will do the other. The reason the applicant at 8:57 adjourned again was, you may recall, this applicant was the same people who are opening an establishment at 44 and 9th. And when that establishment was opening, we had a lot of debate and stipulations that they would not have a side. It's a corner place that has a sort of little pizza thing on 44th and the main shop on 9th. And they stipulated they were only going to use the side thing for takeout. And what has happened is they've given the side thing a different name. And despite telling us multiple times it wasn't a separate place, the separate side thing now has its own website with a 44th Street address and its own Instagram account. But more disturbingly, just today, on one with the Next Door Neighborhood Chat blog, people were asking what kind of speakeasy was operating there, because they saw, despite all the windows being covered over with paper, they saw lines of 20 to 30 people waiting to get in. And people were saying they heard noise of large audiences inside from behind the paper. And they do not have a liquor license yet. So I talked to the applicant and that operator's lawyer about what was going on. He was completely surprised. He talked to the operator there, who said they have an occasional private party for no more than 10 people, which they're allowed to do. And they don't serve alcohol at these private parties. And the lines observed on the street were people waiting to pick up their takeout food. Now, none of that sounds quite logical to me. So we told the applicant's lawyer that he wasn't going to get any headway with the new place tonight, and that he better work on trying to repair their credibility in the next month if they wanted to get anywhere on the new place. And what I just wanted to discuss tonight is whether we want to send any kind of letter to the SLA about the place we previously recommended approval on, bringing these new facts to their attention, that they continue to market the side establishment as a separate business, contrary to their agreements with us. And also there have been these recent community reports of activity there, nothing confirmed that they're serving alcohol, but just sort of setting out the facts of what community members have reported.
I think it's worth a letter.
Okay.
In the next, on Next Door, were there any pictures of people outside waiting?
No. I tried to, one of the person who started this discussion is a woman who's come to other BLP meetings, and I emailed her and we're going to talk tomorrow. So I'll see what she observed. I did go by today, and the whole place is still all papered over, but they do have they have sandwich boards with the name of the side establishment. As I said, I looked, and there is this website, and the website does say you can have a private party here for under 10 people. So I find it highly unlikely that anyone is having any kind of private parties there without alcohol. Now, they may bring the alcohol, or the alcohol may be free, but that's still not allowed if they don't have a liquor license.
Right. They did promise us, or through their lawyer, they promised that they would immediately tear down the paper so people can see inside.
Right. And
I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah. And take down the website and the Instagram account, and any branding of the side thing as a separate establishment. But again, it's also interesting that they were only letting people in through the side entrance and not the 9th Avenue entrance. So there are a lot of sort of suspicious observations here.
Quick question: do they permit them to BYOB, and do they charge people to bring? Do they charge them to serve them their own liquor, like a service fee?
If you're a commercial establishment and don't have a liquor license, you cannot permit you can't give out liquor, you can't permit BYOB. There can be no consumption or even storage of liquor on an unlicensed commercial premise.
I hear that, but from time to time, I see it
Yes.
or I heard of it being done, and it's not supposed to, but
Right.
they try to
So
put stuff like
the
this. This is what I
operator
was wondering
claims,
if
yeah.
the case happened.
No, all the operator has said is that any private events, there's been no alcohol whatsoever. So, and we don't know anyone who's been there.
Tweet?
Yes, thank you. If they say they're going to take down the paper and they're going to take down the sites and the branding, it seems to make sense that we should wait to see that happens first before a letter goes to SLA to see that they follow through, no?
I would agree with that. And let me ask you something. SLA is not holding any kind of hearings, 500-foot hearings or anything like that at all, right?
Well, the 500-foot hearings are happening on paper.
They are.
Yeah, which means a date is scheduled, submissions are made, and the ALJ still makes his finding.
But are they scheduled yet?
Not that, I haven't seen it, Nellie, have you?
No, but I have some new notices that came in today that I have to look at.
Well, that would be a consideration at least, huh?
Right, but, if it were only the side establishment, I'd agree with you completely. And I believe the community members on this blog were urged, not by me, I only read this thing, but were urged to, report what they saw to the SLA and 311. So the actual people who saw what was going on may be making their own reports.
Even if they took the paper down, Tweet, they may take the paper down. I don't know. They may demolish their website and their Instagram account. Even if they do all of that, I think a letter is still warranted to describe this behavior.
Just for my own knowledge, would the letter say, the letter would be, what can we prove? Or what is the spirit of the letter?
Well, we can prove that despite our requests over, I would say, the past 4 months to cease to agree with their STIP not to separately brand the side space, they have continued, including their lawyer telling us last month that they were agreeing to take it all down. They have not done that. And as of today, the website, the Instagram account, all of that was still up. And we have copies of that.
The first time we ever noticed that there was something going on 44th Street, the side street with that entranceway there, their initial response to us was, oh, that was a joke. We were playing on each other. That was just talking about the two owners. That was a joke. I was playing on the other guy. Don't worry about it. There's nothing serious here.
So they've had time.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, this is not just from yesterday.
Well,
This
yeah.
is something that's been going on for at least 3 months. Yeah.
I think that it warrants a letter, especially if they are coming back for additional licenses.
Right.
And we want to be on record. And we have had people like that going and being bad in one place, bad in the second place. And now we have 5 places which are out of control on the avenue.
Agreed.
Okay.
Yeah.
And should the letter simply so our current recommendation is approval, recommend approval in accordance with the stipulations, a deny unless, in other words.
Mm-hmm.
Should our letter simply make these observations and ask the SLA to take it into account? Do we want to, and I guess stress that our approval was conditioned on the side thing not being a separate thing, okay?
Yeah.
And that
I would stress that stipulation.
Okay.
Right. And
Right.
say for 4 months, and now you have the proof because you have a copy of the website.
And then the rest will just pass on as community observations.
Right.
And not take a position on it one way or the other.
Unless there are 311 calls or
No.
no?
I wouldn't, no. They speak for themselves.
Yeah, as do with the
I
complaint
see.
of the SLA, so.
Mm.
Brian, did you want to say something? Because you said you lost your Wi-Fi and Nellie said your hand was up.
No, sorry, I missed, and to be honest, I missed this pretty much all conversation. I'm having Wi-Fi issues.
Okay.
It's on 9th Avenue, so it doesn't immediately affect you.
Okay.
Okay.
So the purpose of this letter, the purpose of this letter is to alert SLA that we consider this a blemish on the permanent record, so to speak, as to this particular owner in terms of putting them on notice.
Well, no, it's first to make clear that that our recommendation of approval, one of the conditions was the side street entrance not be a separate establishment. And that, for the past 4 months, we've been trying to get them to abide by that, and they haven't. So, to stress that our approval is still conditioned on that going back to only being the takeout spillover thing they promised us it would be.
So
Okay.
implicitly, you are saying that they should not approve at the 500-foot hearing, right? Because they don't have a liquor license. Or they have a liquor license from
No, there's no liquor license there
at all.
at all.
Okay, so we are implicitly saying, if they are not going to agree to that, they shouldn't get their license.
Yeah, or that it's got, the license itself has to be absolutely conditioned on.
Right, okay.
But instead of an implicit ask, is this going to be an explicit ask?
Well, I think it should be explicit.
Yeah, that
Okay.
that we only are comfortable with this going forward if they abide by what they agreed with us on the use of the side street space.
Right.
And basically,
I guess we should.
their other application tonight because we told them we didn't trust you.
Right.
I have a question. Are we going to at all ask for the SLA to investigate what's going on there?
I echo that.
Yeah, we should do that in the letter too.
Yeah, I guess when we report the community observations, and say, we urge the SLA to, investigate whether this, this is occurring and alcohol is being, consumed there before getting a license.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do they have an investigation department, and would they go during COVID?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, they do have an investigation department, and during COVID, it's actually been augmented with people from other agencies because the SLA has been the one cracking down on a lot of the social distancing violations and things like that.
They collect tons of money for the state, tons.
Okay.
Okay, we have to go ahead.
We have a motion for that letter?
Yes.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
that seems like we had a unanimous.
Now we do.
Yeah.
Yep. Brian was the last one. Okay. Question, this letter does it go through exec or just go straight from us? What do you think?
Nellie and I were going to work that out tomorrow. It may depend on the timing. She thinks we could possibly send it as an administrative letter to be ratified at exec if time is of the essence.
Well, it wouldn't be administrative, then you don't need to vote it out at exec. You could just say we need to send it out. I don't want to say ASAP, but send it out sooner than exec and sooner than full board.
Bert, let's see what the letter looks like, and if we think it's fairly an administrative letter or if it should go to exec.
Yeah, right.
Okay, I'll draft that and get it to you shortly.
Listen, no matter which way, no matter if it's I do want everyone on the board to know about this.
Well, even if you send it ratified, the board will still know about it because you still have to put it before the full board.
Okay.
It's just you're just sending it out earlier because you feel there's an urgency to it.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Nellie. The last item at 9:30 in the evening on our agenda. And so by saying that, I don't really want us to dwell like for an hour and a half on this, is and making outdoor year-round dining permanent. This was raised, it's on our agenda because it was raised, was it at the full board? I think it was at the full board.
It was.
Yeah, it was the full board where it was raised. Take it to BLP, see what BLP thinks. What do people want to say? Frank and I have been discussing this, and one of the major issues about this permanent outdoor dining year-round in New York City is the heating in the winter. And I, for one, don't want to get into that right now because I have no way to evaluate propane versus electric, the regulations that allegedly the fire department is putting on. There was a story today in Eater newsletter that of X amount of restaurants that have applied for propane heating on the outside, the fire department only has approved 23, da, 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 da. I don't know how to evaluate that one way or the other. I want it, just for me, I think we should stay away from that right now until we have more information. But I think we want maybe to say something about outdoor dining, and I want to phrase it in two ways. One, there's the outdoor dining, street dining during the pandemic, which is an emergency, okay? And everybody's sort of bending over backwards to help restaurants, help the city. I want to look further ahead. Hopefully there'll be a post-pandemic time when we'll have outdoor dining year round. And for me, that raises the issue of how does the community board get involved again in quote unquote normal times? Because right now we're not involved at all. It's all self-certified, goes to the DOT. They say, great, yeah, go ahead. So that's the way I'd like to frame our discussion. Jump into it.
Yeah, so I don't know if anyone had the opportunity to read it, but Community Board 2 has been all over this issue and sent a 7-page resolution to, the mayor and Corey and every other elected official under the sun, setting out, all sorts of problems, but then various solutions. And I think their concerns are threefold. One, that the mayor and the city council made outdoor dining permanent without any input from the community boards or the community. Second, that by doing that, they've essentially wiped away all of the limitations and stipulations on outdoor dining that all the community boards, work for with the applicants. So, as you just saw, we're always trying to balance size of outdoor dining and music. But all of that just gets wiped away by whatever the city wants to implement. And third, by making this permanent, they're essentially giving public space without, any kind of remuneration to one particular industry, at the expense of pedestrians and other industries and anywhere else you'd use it. So what CB2 would like would be that after the state of emergency is left, there'd be a public process on whether whether this outdoor dining should be made permanent, and if so, how the community is going to be involved in the various decisions, that it not simply be the self-certification that's been going on during the pandemic. But I agree with Bert. I think what's key is that we're talking about when things get back to normal. We're not talking about more restrictions on restaurants now, as everyone is struggling, but, something that'll happen, certain months after the state of emergency is lifted.
So I'm sorry, Frank, I have a question. So you're saying that writing a letter in the future, or just saying that we're going to write a letter once we know more facts? Because
I was summarizing what CB2 did.
Okay, and
they wrote a letter now saying that outdoor dining shouldn't be made permanent without hearing from the community and the community boards in a full public process. So don't make it permanent. It was wrong to make it permanent, and you've got to reconsider and do this in a better way. I'm not sure they specify whether it should be done now or later, but that's what they're worried about. I'm not necessarily suggesting we write our own letter, because I think they pretty carefully covered the waterfront on their very thorough letter. But as Bert said, community board members raised the issue in conjunction with one of our last letters, and Lowell asked us to consider it here.
Should we not
this is
write a
Rob.
letter? Sorry.
Wait. Carrie?
It's okay. Go ahead,
Should
go
we
ahead.
not, though, also write a letter from Community Board 4 in support of Community Board 2?
Well,
I guess
that's making a commitment.
I guess
Yeah,
that's
sorry, if that is what we all
Yeah.
think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. It's a commitment now. So why even weigh in now?
Well, it seems to me, it seems to me that the major issue we have written in all our resolutions things that don't work and need to be changed, right? Like, outdoor dining must be revocable because you need the street for transportation. You need different measurement for the pedestrians. We need to charge for these spaces because a parking space generates about 34,000 annually. And if we're going to start to trade that, we need to recover that revenue. And then some of the SLA regulation. So we can write, I think the only thing we're going to be, which is fundamental here, is whether the community board should be involved or not in or we are supporting self-certification.
Post-pandemic.
Post-pandemic.
Yeah, post-pandemic, because everything else I think we have already written in all our letters. So we have covered all these things. We've already voted on them. So of all those things, I don't think we have the really key question is, should the community board be involved in the approval and give the opportunity to do this, do the stipulation? And
That's
I think
what it is.
Right, and I think that's the thing of where, if we want to do that, that's what we should decide here and give a letter about that, because then everything else should be, we can add to everything else.
So Christine, would you not raise any concerns about outdoor dining being made permanent in the way it happened? Which
I do, but it's done.
It's done. It's history.
You see, it's done. So the way they did it is they say, we are going to make it permanent and we want DOT to come back with rules.
Right, but then
the big decision, which is going to be, is whether community boards are involved or not. That's going to be a huge decision.
Then I guess my concern, if we don't align ourselves with CB2 on that, but submit a letter, it could be used sort of at least inferentially to say, Community Board 4 is okay with how outdoor dining was made permanent. So I might almost rather not send any kind of letter.
Well, we could say, let me say what happened. I went to this hearing, so let me give you just a little background. They heard everything and everybody raised a zillion of questions. DOT first saying, what are you going to do? Do we charge for it? So, everybody was, and even a lot of the elected officials were saying, but what about this? What about that? So everybody said, it sounds good. We want to make it permanent, but we don't have all the information. We need to work on it. And so there was not like, forcing down the throat. Essentially, it was like, well, it sounds like a good idea. It was good. We liked it, but how do we do it going forward? And that was not decided.
But it was still made permanent without any of that being decided.
Well, I think it said subject to DOT. I think we need to read the law when it was made permanent.
Okay.
I also think.
I mean, I've not seen the text which says it's permanent. That's, I was told it was.
By making.
And one,
Who, Wendy? Was that you?
go ahead, Bert.
No,
It was me, but go ahead.
I talk too much. Go ahead.
I was just going to flag in just skimming through CB2's letter that it is so expansive. So I understand the concern around if we put something out, does it seem like we don't agree with some of the things they've put? And does that feel strange, like we're at odds and there's no need to create conflict where there isn't any? But it is a super expansive letter that is calling for both like forward thinking, like wanting community board being a part of the future process, as well as some actions that are supposed to be taken right now. Some things very tactical regarding like regulations around propane heaters, but then also they mention here, it says Community Board 2 strongly urges the city to stop the process of making the outdoor dining program permanent in order to conduct an evaluation of the immediate past season, summer 2020 and fall 2020, and to establish a formalized community review process. So they are asking actually for, and then again, I don't know how permanent it actually is, whether it's just been decreed or whether it actually is a law, but they're actually asking for that process to stop. Which may impact our letter.
One of our letters, we asked for, and maybe I'm not remembering correctly. In one of the letters where we talked about making outdoor dining permanent, we did call for an evaluation.
Yes, we did. Well, we called for making it permanent, but not right away.
Not right away, and we called for an evaluation after whatever time period we said. I do think that the Community Board 2 letter gets lost.
Right.
They go into details about this and that, and reading 7 pages, what is their point? And their point is, one, they didn't like the process of how we got where we are now. And two, going forward, we want it to be evaluated and we want to be involved in that evaluation.
And let me tell you one more thing, and they want their parking space back.
Well, that's them.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying is that that's the subscript behind that.
Well, the other thing about CB2 is they've got 2 BLP committees, don't they? They are all about BLP down there.
Really?
I've attended those meetings and they are horrendous. I mean, they're huge.
So I don't know. I mean, I think it would be valuable to write that we really, based on what we have observed, we really think that the community board needs to be involved in the process, because we are losing a lot of the agreement.
Would that be in the process of just outdoor dining in general, but not being opposed to outdoor dining forever?
I'm not suggesting we are opposed to outdoor dining. I'm just saying when they structure the permanent process, when they structure the permanent process, that they include the community board one way or another.
So I think that should be on the letter. Like, we're not opposed to outdoor dining being definitive.
But we already wrote a letter like that, saying we are not opposed to it.
I don't know.
Yeah, but it would be worth mentioning if we do a letter. I mean, because we are on record as liking outdoor dining if it were implemented properly.
Right. And I think the implementation, we have a collection of suggestions about implementation, which are, probably one page long. And the big question there is, that's going to be the big question, is the community board involved or not?
I have some comments.
Oh, sure.
I agree with what's being said here, but the issue is what jumped out at me was that public space is being used and converted to private space. That could be an issue. What stems from that I thought in the thought process was, we were talking about, sidewalk cafes, talking about the tree distance and everything like that. This could be a way to subvert that and say, okay, well, if you're not giving me sidewalk, I'm going to use the streets. And in that vein, we should, community board should be involved in any sort of permanent process so that doesn't happen. And then if anything, the community board 2 letter is a good jumping off space. I agree with Bert that it could be, more to the point. And also there's I guess CB2 is more waterfront. My concern, and that we hadn't raised maybe in our letter, was, or maybe we did, I don't remember, snow removal. What happens if it's icy and someone skids? Like, what happens if, different things like that are they're not a problem until they are. So there has to be something involved with that too.
Yeah, I just want to say informationally, beginning December 15th, there are new rules and regs for outdoor dining structures in terms of snow, and they have to have all kinds of protections around on the street side that will buffer, I guess that's the word, or mute or deflect the impact of a skidding car. It doesn't seem like it will necessarily prevent a skidding car from going into a structure, but it will deflect it by, they have to have certain kinds of soil around and water. And these regs are to be supervised. Everything else is by DOT, but these by Department of Sanitation. So we have another agency now involved. And this is all beginning.
Hey,
Go ahead.
this is Rob. I just want to bring a few different other points in. We're having people use public space, and the materials they are using, it's at their discretion. There's a wide variety, and we don't have a set policy and procedure of what materials are allowed to use, what not to use. Also, the difference between the heating lamps, are they gas, kerosene, are they electric? I hate to say it, but with the materials and the different combustible materials out there being used, we are going to see a few fires, whether we, like it or not. And I hope that's not the way, but it's going to happen. I appreciate the let's wait and see what happens, but we know it's going to happen. I think that Community Board 2 is a great starting off point. If we could sort of kind of summarize and agree with what they're saying, and from what I've heard everyone echo here, we pretty much are. We're looking post-pandemic, and we don't want permanent dining. We don't want to use public space. We know it's going to go on now, but let's be part of that conversation. And just like we are with the Sidewalk Cafes, let us have say in it, and let's put that down. Thanks.
May I ask? Oh, sorry. I just had a question for learning. We can say no to a sidewalk cafe or suggest no to a sidewalk cafe, but then somebody can go and put their cafe on the street. That's the idea?
No.
No.
I
don't. Oh, this is all post-pandemic.
Yeah, okay. So here's post-pandemic is very much.
This whole conversation is post-pandemic.
Post-pandemic is very much a gray area. At the moment, DCA is essentially shut down for sidewalk cafes. They're not taking applications. It's all going under outdoor dining, where you can put stuff on the sidewalk or you can put stuff on the street.
And that's DOT.
Yeah. Now, when outdoor dining is made, quote, permanent, everyone I've talked to says no one has considered how that interacts with the sidewalk cafe rules. And is this permanent outdoor dining only the street, and DCA is going to go back to the sidewalks? No one knows, unless Christine has heard, but every lawyer I've asked.
Because in that hearing, the people from DCA said that it was really important to merge the sidewalk cafe with the open dining and to make it as one single set of rules. So the agencies are well aware of that. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm sure they are going to push for that.
Oh, I want to make one other point real quick. A lot of these sheds are now winterizing, and they're actually extending. People who have it in the street are actually extending their storefronts that really shouldn't have, but they are. And even on the street, I've seen people put electricity in these temporary structures with materials that really technically should not be connected to electricity the way that they're adding. They're not going through the building permits, and they're not being inspected. we need a way of ensuring the safety of our community and, the people in it.
Yeah, well, what we need is the DOT to publish a new set of guidelines, which are very clear and very specific, and saying, okay, going forward, this is the way it goes. And because the current state was really like a panic mode, indeed, everything was going. And so we cannot go permanent like that.
The actuality is everything's been done by the seat of their pants.
Yeah, yeah.
No well thought out procedures. It was an emergency.
Yeah.
Somebody said to somebody, we got to have this, let's do it. It has to be next week. Nothing was really thought out, consequences or implications, okay? What we're saying is, okay, one, we have some experience now. Two, we want to go ahead. If we want to make it permanent, we want an evaluation of what's happened now.
Yeah.
Three, we want to be clear about who's in charge and if there's more than one group in charge agency, who's in charge of what, and then who oversees all the agencies that are doing this as a unitary force. And we want the community boards involved.
Exactly.
And what I think we might want to do is, I don't find, unless you tell me differently, that we have a major rush, to compete with Community Board 2 or anything like that. So we can come up with a draft and circulate it and maybe talk about the draft at our next meeting.
That makes sense.
Well, yes, a couple of things though. I wanted to pick up on Rob's comment of winterization. I know we're talking about post-pandemic, but this is a sticking point in terms of pandemic now. The way things, the outdoor spaces are being winterized, I've heard at least in the Chelsea Council of Black Associations, the issue is that it's completely enclosed, which really makes it an incubator for breeding the virus versus having the proper ventilation. And that's an issue now in terms of making this permanent moving forward. How do you get to that spot, right?
That was in the letter that we sent out from the full board, talking about.
I agree with you, and I sorry about that. With what you were saying, I agree with you. I wasn't disagreeing. What I'm saying now is winterization, people doing stuff now. I wish we could put a stop on it and a hold and reevaluate and somehow have someone come in and administer saying, hey, this could be done, that can't be done. But yeah, post-pandemic, no, but currently now, I wish we could restrict and have oversight on what's going on.
We asked for that.
Well, New York City, I just wanted to add that New York City has a data department with like NYC data or NYC.data or something. So there should be, it's a big thing, right? This data analysis. There should be at least some, I see you smiling, Bert. There should be some, some data points about this and saying, okay, these people who have done this.
There should be, right.
I don't think there's a paper trail on who did what extensions or what winterization or even how many setups. Like I think it's like 19th Street and 8th Avenue, Lulu. They have it going all the way down the side, all the way out front. And now they're trying to extend, not just on the street, but their building to sort of kind of enclose. They're winterizing. And there's no one that has a list on all the different bars and restaurants that are doing what they're doing and what they're adding. It's just like the Wild West a little bit.
It is a Wild
Well,
West.
I did go to.
Go ahead.
I did go to one of the sessions, and I can go back to my notes and I can send it to this BLP about what the websites are. And I remember there was a graph about like little pink martini signs where they're not supposed to have it, and so they were shut down. Or these are the green ones they sprinkled around. This is mostly in the West Village. But I'll go back and circle back to you guys about that.
Cool, thank you.
Okay, but as I think everyone remembers from full board last week, we did send a letter about the health and safety issues as these structures get enclosed not in compliance with the city guidelines. So
Right.
that has been covered already.
And
Yeah, so I'd be,
the question is enforcement.
I think we should focus on post-pandemic because honestly, I mean, my opinion is that restaurants are going to be closed shortly anyway. So unfortunately, but I feel like we should focus on, this is something permanent. How are we going to be involved moving forward?
I agree
Agree.
completely, because as we're seeing this call, I mean, restaurants have been buffeted by these constantly changing regulations and new requirements every 2 weeks. And, you know, they make a pretty reasonable case that even people who want to do the right thing find it very hard to keep up and have the money to keep up. And I don't think we want to blame them. I mean, we're not okay with ongoing health and safety issues, but I don't think we want to come down too hard on the restaurant industry during the pandemic. I think the focus, as you just said, should be on what happens afterwards, and let's get out of the Wild West and normalize things.
I completely agree with that.
Me
Right.
too.
And I think that's a key word, Frank, normalize.
Yeah.
How do we post-pandemic, normalize the process? Where do we go forward?
Okay, so if we're okay getting a draft together and talking about it next month, I think once we agree who's going to do the draft, we can adjourn.
I have like 90% of a draft.
Okay. All right. And I would volunteer, but I'm doing one letter already about.
Oh, I'll send it to both of you so you can, shape
I will. Christine and I could work on it with anybody else who wants to volunteer.
Okay.
And like all of the people, so we can remember, if we didn't take notes, send it to us.
Yeah. Or you can watch the video if you can stand watching yourself.
Wow.
I have done that. Christine, just one quick thing. How do we handle the getting, remuneration to the city for use of these spaces? Because obviously that's not something the community board can ask individual applicants.
No, but I mean, I think it will be the same as the Sidewalk Café, where they have to pay something, but then the price has to be massively different because they are using that as a permanent, it's on the right of way. And so when we recommend that, they should establish the new permits with the right pricing.
Okay.
It has to be a higher rental.
Yeah.
The rental.
Yeah.
If you want to call it a rental.
I think the way we can be most effective is a short letter
that
boils down the whole CB2 thing and focuses less on the past than on the post-pandemic future.
Good idea. Okay.
Okay.
Very good.
4 minutes to 10. This is like
Sounds good.
This is a good one.
Okay.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Guys, happy holidays, everybody.
Yes.
Happy holidays.
Happy
holidays.
Oh my gosh, yes. See you in
motion to
2021.
adjourn.
Happy New
Bye,
Year.
everyone.
Motion to
Safe
adjourn.
holidays.
A second.
Yet.
Can't wait to finish 20. Okay, bye-bye.
Take care.
Good
Bye,
night.
everyone.
Bye.